Yeah. You distracted yet? Because it's fucking happening. You know, I woke up today and this suggested to me from YouTube, right, is
knowledge is
this video. You won't believe who's actually controlling reality right now. And it's a video by Beyond the Veil. Not sure if you know about this channel. It's a good channel, I guess. Beyond the Veil. They do pretty good stuff. I almost want to play the video, watch it with you guys, but I don't want to get in trouble. But it's a video that is about David Icke, at least a little bit. Karen, what's going on? But I think it's really interesting, the whole reptilian shapeshifter bullshit. And I like David Icke. I like a lot of what he says and what he does, but I just can't help but question it. And I've always questioned it. You know, how is he still around? If he's really telling us secrets, why haven't they killed him? When you know how the system works, you know, or at least have some idea of how the system works, and you understand this notion of they kill us. I mean, that's what they do. You know, when we don't listen, when you get too high, you start saying shit, you end up hanging yourself, like Chester Bennington, or what's his name, Soundgarden guy, you know. And so David Icke has been, like, it's interesting. It's like he tells us truth, and so much, like half of it's true, and then the other half is this reptilian. And you know, part of me does sort of have an issue with it, because I do question things, and that was the one conspiracy I used to, like, before I went, it's the Jews, I went with the reptilian thing just because of the parameters. It makes sense, right? We have a strange attitude towards David Icke over here. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he was a... Come on. Close it. He was a footballer, and then he was a newscaster. So he was allowed into the inner circle. Come on, let's go, man. Broly, come on. Broly. Come on. This weird-ass OCD dog. It's your last chance, dude. I'm not coming back. Okay. You want it? So fucking stupid. God damn. Weirdo. But you do have to figure, like, do you know who David Icke is? Because of he's a star. He's been given that platform to be a star. And even he you know, made a goofball out of himself, talking about, I only wear this color and shit like that. It's like he has provided just a blueprint, a template, right? Belch. And the thing is, like I said, I can understand the reptilian thing. Even down to the idea of the, like, dinosaur worship, right? Like, when you think about it, really, you know, Little kids revere dinosaurs. They're gods, and we've done that. We've created these giant lizard beings, these Godzillas that ruled the earth for hundreds of millions of years, and like it's interesting, right? I can make those connections. The videos that show the Justin Bieber arrest video was always, or booking video, was always interesting to me. The fact that it was released in the first place was it, like how many other celebrities have been arrested and we haven't seen their booking video, right? It's really strange. And good morning. We haven't seen their arrest, but Justin's arrest video was released like right away. So the idea of some sort of edit, again, different. In the Justin Bieber video, he's looking at the camera, then suddenly it seems like whatever it is, the disguise is, if you will, starts to fail. And it's like he recognizes that it's happening, and he quickly like looks down, like shakes his head and looks down, waits a minute, and then looks back up, and it's gone. And when you look at the video isn't fucking up. The distortion, the whatever it is not fucking up. It's just his face that's fucking up. And there are plenty of those videos that exist where it's, somebody's eyes look all fucked up. Some weird shit is happening in their faces, and you just like, man, that is a strangely specific distortion that only seems to affect certain people. I remember watching live when the Haiti earthquake happened, and they were doing those telethons where you text this number and give $10 to the organization, whatever. And I mean, I was watching it with my wife, and I was saying, they're doing a thing where they have Bill Clinton and George Bush are being interviewed and basically, begging us to send money. And I remember watching it live going, sweetheart, look at his fucking eyes. Look at his eyes. Because his eyes were slits. It wasn't like Bill Clinton's eyes were slits. It wasn't like, it wasn't like the whole face or anything else was distorted. His eyes were slits. And he was making that weird noise. I remember that live. I saw that. So that was a strange thing to me. And it wasn't until, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, when I finally just make if you take Jews and reptilians and you compare the two narratives, it's the same shit. Even down to the shapeshifter thing, in that not a physical shapeshifter necessarily, but somebody that a group of people that changes their whole identity to fit in and manipulate. I can totally see that. His very first TV interview was a chat show, prom time, establishment man gone mental, openly ridiculed, all strange, including where he lives now. Have a look at TTE Island he lives on off our west. I could have made a better analogy than calling himself Jesus on TV. Who gives a fuck? I could absolutely see myself doing that just to gain the attention. He doesn't call himself Jesus. He's just another wacko. I don't know. The whole Christian connection to things is really a part of that disguise, is a part of that stupidity. So like this obsession with zombie Jesus is a strange one to me. Here's the video of the Russian band who is playing for a private party full of influential people, and when the lights fail, some of their eyes are glowing. No. Could you please send my love to the Queen of New York, Ariana Beauty? Hey, I will send my love to the Queen of New York. Blah, 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 blah. You know, now you need to go grab the free download, www.the-bilderberg, bilderberg-group.com. I do, you do, you know? And so there's this whole thing associated with Ike, the reptilians, Credo Mutra. Credo Mutra. Have you guys seen Credo Mutra? Like, share, and sub. Don't forget to like, share, and sub. Don't forget to click share. Click Facebook. If you're scared of the responses people are going to give you, then title it, "This guy's crazy." Somebody come tell him he's crazy. Whatever you got to do to share it. Just help. But the whole notion of Credo Mutra, you know, I got way into Ike for a minute there. And literally it got to the Credo Mutra interviews where I watched as much of it as I could before it was a little irritating. But the whole, you know, he's the Zulu shaman, this, that, and the other. Just like with the Jews, the Zulu, the historical record wasn't written down. It was an oral tradition handed down from generation to generation, blah, 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 blah. And I think every time you see that, that should be like a red flag. Or every time you hear that, that should be a red flag. Because it's a way of accounting for the fact that your history doesn't actually exist. Oh, yeah, no, it was just a long, hundreds of years of telephone. That's our accurate history. Nobody bothered to write anything down. And it's weird how we just accept that as being like a viable solution. Israel rules the world, and it just became illegal in America to speak badly on Israel. Everyone liking memes, you can be arrested for a year. Well, like, share, and sub, because I'm proud to fucking talk bad about Israel. I'm proud I'm proud of my anti-Semitism because I know what the fuck the word means. So for those that don't understand, let me give you a very quick education, right? So we're going to come to the feed, or to the phone, click on the Google machine. We're going to click Semitism definition, okay? We're going to pull up the Merriam-Webster definition, Semitism, right? Merriam-Webster.com. Merriam-Webster.com, Semitism.
Semitism.
You hear that? This is the page, no funny business. Semitism. Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. Policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. Do you understand what that means? Policy is the rules and regulations and such. A predisposition is an increased tendency or susceptibility to developing a particular disease, trait, or behavioral pattern, often due to a combination of genetic, environmental, or physical factors. Well, that's even worse than I thought. You know, I always said it was just predisposition is how you think about it before you know anything. So before you know any of the details in your head, you're going, well, if it involves Jews, they're going to get my favoritism. But this is even worse. A predisposition is an increased tendency or susceptibility to developing a particular disease, trait, or behavioral pattern, often due to a combination of genetic, environmental, or physical factor or psychological factors. It means that someone is more likely to experience something, but it doesn't guarantee it will happen. Policy and predisposition favorable to them. Nice haircut. How do you like your dude's hair? Do you like your dudes with short hair? Is that what it is? This dude never changes his shirt. Yeah, it's cold outside. I keep putting on the same shirt for 10 minutes. The same long sleeve shirt. Yeah. If you notice, yesterday's shirt was white. Pray hands on it. Today's it's orange. But hey, let's go with that. I do think that David Icke has a lot of info. Although, unfortunately, he does get a bit wild. Tangent. I mean, you know, the thing is, it's like the same thing with me. You know, there's no authority there. David Icke might be right about a lot of it. Doesn't mean he's right about everything. He's still a human. He's still susceptible to being wrong. He's still, you know, there's always the possibility that he is an agent. He is working. So, I mean, there's factors involved. I was in the military. Well, that's the end of that. If you tell me you were dumb enough to join the military, like that's you saying, you know, I really wanted to kill brown people. So I joined the organization that legally allowed me to kill brown people. There's a cat. I wonder if it's my new cat's brother and or sister. Well, what is your title? I worked on one. You're saying I'm lying. Oh, I have no problem calling you a liar. Fuck yeah. Yeah, of course. But it's always funny how, you know, people choose to keep talking about one thing. If you really did give a shit about submarines, like if you really cared that much, you'd go watch the first 9 parts of my video, of this series, part 1 through 9, debunk what I'm saying on the video, or at least learn my arguments, and then come at me with them on here and make me look bad. You could debunk everything I'm saying. I'd love for you to do it. Personally, I know you can't, but I'd love to see you try. The issue with the submarine thing is none of you know that shit. None of you know anything about submarines. Get rid of Zionism, but it's not Zionism, dude. Zionism is the thing that they tell us we're allowed to focus on. Zionism is the bad guy they gave us to cover. Because if they didn't give us something like Zionism to focus on, then we would just flat out say it's Judaism. We oppose Judaism. But because they gave us the bad guy and then told us that we're not even allowed to mention the Judaism aspect, but we are allowed to say Zionism in certain circles, well, fuck, then that's I'll take it. And so then you end up, you end up saying what they want you to say. And of course, you have jagoffs like Joe Biden who flat out say, I'm a Zionist, you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. That tells you what you need, of course. That dilutes the waters, right? That muddies the waters, whatever. Because, oh, well, you don't have to be that. Okay, well, then that means it could be anybody and blah, blah, but it's not. Bros yapping about the Jews. Of course. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? Why do you think they're somehow off limits? Why do you think if they're such good people and they're such a good organization and there's nothing nefarious going on, why is it, being made illegal to even talk about them? This country, like our like claim to fame is the Constitution. The Constitution, the First Amendment, the very first amendment to the Constitution, meaning it was a certain thing, and then they were like, well, let's make one little change real quick. Freedom of speech, there's 5 elements. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, the right to assemble, and the right to redress your grievances with your government. This is like the fundamental foundation of being an American is these principles. And yet, to protect a foreign entity, to protect a pedophile, genocidal cult, they're literally destroying the First Amendment over this. They're not saying, hey, I know people may have some misconceptions about the Jays, and we encourage you to ask questions so that we can eliminate those misconceptions. We don't want anybody thinking anything crazy or false, any conspiracy theories. They don't encourage us to ask and learn and debunk these things. They tell you not to talk about it. You're a bad guy if you do talk about it. Blink 182. Holy shit, it's funny that you brought that up. I was literally driving, not yesterday, the day before, and I was thinking, I wonder what happened to Blink 182. How come they didn't fucking stick around? They were one of the biggest bands of the aughts, You would assume that they could put out even a trash album nowadays and it would sell a gazillion copies. The lizard person transformed in front of him. I mean, see, this is what's funny to me. Like, you go LOL, blah, blah, blah. Why would you know more than that guy? And what would he have to gain by saying that? He knows that going down that road is going to blacklist him. Billy Corgan is one of the greatest musicians of all time. His whole narrative is just, his songs, Smashing Pumpkins are fucking amazing. And it's so funny that you actually brought that up, because for all the people that don't understand what titles are, this is submarines are real. Why aren't you talking about submarines? Submarines aren't real, part this. Would you buy Smashing Pumpkins tickets and be upset if you went to the concert and there were no gourds to be seen anywhere? Is that what would happen? Are you really that dumb? Do you really not understand how titles work? Did they shut off the comments? I think they might have shut off the comments already. Oh, come on, not this quickly. That's no fun. That pisses me off. Ask yourself, why is it multiple times, just about every day anymore, I'll be doing my live feed, and at some point the comment section gets shut off from my perspective. So I'm sure you guys can see the comments still coming through, blah, blah, blah. You can see the dumbasses saying all kinds of dumbass things. The last comment I have access to is Smashing Pumpkins lead singer says a lizard person transformed in front of him, LOL. Why do you suppose that is? Have you ever heard of anybody else saying that this is what's happening on their live feed? If you can find somebody else, if you've seen this anywhere else, share the link with me. I'd love to see it. I'd love to know who these people are. This happens to me just about every day. And the thing is, once it's over, the comment section disappears. So anything anybody says in the comments is gone after the fact. Unlike anybody else's videos. That's why when you go look at my history, you'll see these videos with thousands of views and 0 or 2 comments. Where does that even begin to make sense to anyone? You show me the other videos that have thousands of views and no comments. And it seems like there's more and more, people waking up and questioning things as opposed to just the trolls talking shit. Every day there seems to be more and more people who, again, they contribute, right? And it's strange how when people start contributing and agreeing and whatnot, this happens. This specific thing happens. What a strangely specific glitch to happen. What a strangely specific glitch. Let me ask you this. Oh, look at now the feed's fucking up. Now the signal's being fucked with. I'm in fucking suburbs of Detroit, man. It's flat everywhere you look, and I'm surrounded by cell phone towers. I should never ever lose contact, lose my signal. Isn't it strange how that literally just happened as I'm talking about it? What do you think that is? I actually really want to hear from everybody on this, so I'm tempted to reset. I just, who wants to end a feed with 44, fucking 54, 60, 79 viewers on it? I just went from 44 to 79. It was 70 something, then it dropped down to 44. Now it's back up to 79. Just normal shit, right? But back to David Icke, isn't it strange? Look what happens to me. You can find all the David Icke videos you want. David Icke supposedly telling secrets and shit. Just like Alex Jones. You ever see when David Icke and Alex Jones meet up? And there's a fight. They argue. It's fucking silly. The idea that I would have any attention. I'm just some dumbass, right? I'm just some dumbass with, the greatest band you've never heard of, but belch. What danger could I possibly pose that would warrant any sort of interference? Make it make sense. Did too many people share the feed when I first asked? Is that what happened? We happened to have a bunch of normals on here and they shared the feed, and that's what made it. Like, what happened? This is just as much of a conspiracy. This is just as much worth talking about as anything else. All the other stuff is happening out there, and then you have to get this secondhand knowledge of it. On here, you're seeing it firsthand. You're seeing it right in front of your face. How do you explain what you're seeing right in front of your face? And why if it's different in a sea, in a fucking ocean of similar, where everybody else's shit works the exact same way, to come across something that's different, it should grab your attention. It should be like a flag there, like, hey, this is different. And this is different from the inside out. I can't. How does somebody turn off the comments from their perspective? Why would somebody even be able to do that? But you're seeing something that you don't see. Alex Jones never complains about this kind of shit. None of these truthers ever complain about this kind of shit, just like none of these truthers have the balls to say what I have to say. You can't just paint me into the skinhead corner, because obviously I'm not a white skinhead. How come the only people that you know of throughout history that, like, the only time you've ever heard of people talking bad about the Chosen was either skinheads or like the Farrakhan people, the Nation of Islam? You guys want to have your minds blown? I mean, this blows my mind. This might not blow your mind. You might just think it's normal. So we all know who this monster is, right? You know who this monster is? You know who that is? If I told you that was a picture of a young Netanyahu, would you deny it? Would you say there's no fucking way that's Netanyahu as a young man? Would you deny it? I bet you wouldn't. I bet you'd be like, yeah, that looks just like him. That second guy is a guy called Wallace Fard Muhammad. And Wallace Fard Muhammad is the founder of the Nation of Islam. The black Muslims, you know, the scary black people, all militant Muslims that scared white people for decades. That makes sense to you? Does that guy look like the leader of the black movement, the black revolution? Or does that look like that guy? Does that look like Benjamin Milikowski? Benjamin Milikowski. When you let yourself, like, again, you have to, I'm trying to relate to you guys because I don't have that block. You know, if you could show me, you know, really decent proof that there was a Jesus God, even though I'm absolutely opposed to it all, I would say, okay, well, that's a pretty undeniable proof right there. And I would have to adjust the way I look at things. Because I don't let my like or dislike of something guide me. It's all about truth. it's That's the main purpose of all of it, is to get to the bottom of things, to understand the truth. So you might not like what I'm saying, or this, that, and the other. When I show you the picture of the founder of the Nation of Islam, and it looks like a young Benjamin Milikowski Netanyahu, doesn't that, like, trigger something in your head? You know, for me, it's like I already have my suspicions, and then I stumble across it, and I'm like, holy fuck. I already have my suspicions because I think it's so obvious. How do people ignore it? But then you see this actual shit, and it's, how do you fucking ignore it? If I gave you 100 pictures of 100 different people, 50% of them were black, and I said, tell me who you think the founder of the Nation of Islam is, the black Muslims. Show me who you think that is. Do you think initially, like, to narrow the number down, you'd remove anybody that wasn't black first and foremost? Wouldn't that be what you would do? But no, right? I'm crazy. I should just do what I'm told. I should just listen. I should give a shit about Melania having slept with Epstein, because that's the newest, breakingest, newsest. Came out last night. So I was so inspired by it that I did the rare night feed last night. You guys caught up in it like you're supposed to be? Is everybody talking about how a consenting adult slept with another consenting adult, and that there's a really good chance that you know, That they all slept with each other. Like it's the fucking sex parties. My wife is showing me a bunch of buildings that shouldn't exist. That's interesting. Is everybody wrapped up in that bullshit? I mean, they have us completely wrapped up in the Epstein distraction. At the end of the day, other than super old Trump, who will probably die soon, we are totally distracted by Epstein, a dead guy. And the actual truth behind all of it is starting to come out. I mean, I do have to give credit where credit's due. Like, we as a people are waking up to it. But it's just not enough. And there's so much of the distraction to keep you from looking. If you're not looking in, if you're not, when you look at Epstein, if you don't immediately start with Robert Maxwell and Donald Barr and the pieces that put Epstein in the position he was in, you're not paying attention. Epstein was about Israel. Epstein represents Israel. Epstein is an Israeli creation. He's he's an agent. He's like an agent in all sense of the words. He's not real. The Epstein character, it was Maxwell 2.0. And Maxwell 2.0 was Herzl or was some other, some other character just revamped, reissued. They put a shiny little coat of paint on it and put it right back out again. It's it's all about us being distracted. They don't care if we think David Icke is right and it's reptilians and all that. They prefer it if we did. If you're wrapped up in the reptilian thing, not only are you wrapped up in, something completely different than what it actually is, you're wrapped up in something that, most of the people you try to talk to about it will just write you off. You're just a crazy reptilian shapeshifter. Yeah, okay. The same people that willingly accept the idea of Jesus with zero proof need proof for everything else. Everything else, they're just not going to even entertain it without concrete evidence. It's all arrogance. They play off of your arrogance. You want to feel smart. You want to think that you're on the right side. You want to go with go with the flow. You don't want to be the outcast or anything like. So you just say what everybody else says. You believe what everybody else believes because it's easier that way. But yet, if I ask you, why do you personally believe Christianity is correct and Islam, which has a lot more people worldwide, Islam isn't? What evidence do you have one way or the other? I mean, same thing with the Muslims. What evidence do you have that Christianity is false and Islam is true? And I know one of the main arguments that Muslims will make is that, well, every version of the Quran ever found is the exact same. Says the same thing. The Bible's been rewritten a bunch of different times. The Quran is the same, no matter how, they found thousands of years old versions of it, blah, 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 like those kinds of claims. Where it basically comes down to a given understanding. You have to trust the system that lies to you, that they even found Qurans from 800, 1,000 years ago, whatever. And that's exact. It says exactly. You won't be allowed to examine that Quran. You won't even see it. If they take a picture of it, maybe, but you'll never touch it. You'll never be able to check its authenticity. And of course, they use their magical laser scantron dating machine. This is from the year 632 AD. Right? Is that how that works? Brr, bing. Rosie. Brr, bing. It's so funny when you look back at shit like the Jetsons and you think like that's literally what they used to tell us the future was going to be like. Like it was a cartoon, but it was supposed to be like, this is what it's going to be like. And just how goofy they made robots back then. The one robot made out of the file cabinet and shit. Oh, it's so stupid. I always wondered how, like in the Flintstones universe, again, it seems like a very Jewish representation. For some reason, everybody's name has to do with the era they're in. Same thing with the Jetsons. Fred Flintstone, I saw one yesterday where it was like, the chick was like something Stone this, or like it was always Stone or Rockwell or something. Like it'd be like my name being like, I don't know, Guy Redmond, or I don't fucking know, because I live in Redford. Like it's just stupid. But I don't know why I'm even wasting my time talking about stupid things like that. Guess it's proof that even the best of us are easily distracted by nonsense. I'm so desperate to like I give a shit. I give a shit about all of you. Even if you happen to be one of the people raised in the chosen cult and you think you're doing the right thing because that's what you're told to think, but there's that part of you that's like, this is wrong. Why am I killing innocent people? Why am I, pushing this supremacy idea, blah, blah, blah. If you struggle with that, I'm here for you as well. And I really don't understand how the average person doesn't see these things or give a shit. Like, we all bitch. Everyone loves to bitch about what's wrong. Bitch about this brown person, that brown person, or these brown people, those brown people. This bullshit that we love to bitch. What's going on, man? We love to bitch, but we don't want to do anything about it. And we set the limits. We censor ourselves. If the thing you're talking about makes any one person uncomfortable, you shouldn't say it. We've gotten to this strange point where your fucking issues and shit like that should affect me. I should adjust my life to accommodate the issues of everyone, including the people who, take advantage of that. Well, there's literally no reason why, like to say that the Jews are off limits, we shouldn't talk about them. Well, that's prejudice. That's singling out one group of people and saying they should be treated differently. Why should any one group be treated differently? What gives them that advantage? Other than the demand for Semitism, what gives them that perspective? They are off limits. Don't you dare talk about them because they're so much more special than you. They're the special ones. You're the shit. You're just another dumb goyim. Again, it's frustrating because the comment section, there's a small contingency of people that are on the good side, and then there's this huge section of people just saying dumb shit. And I don't know, man. I see my numbers and I see what happens on my feed and I see this shit and I It just all doesn't add up. There's too many chinks in the armor here. There's too many holes in this narrative for it all to make sense, and for it to make sense in the way that we're told it makes sense, and we should continue thinking about it this way. I'd love to know why people believe in the Bible, but they won't tell you. You ask your average person what it is about that Bible that has you so fucking convinced, and they just don't know. I was noticing too, I love watching old cartoons. There's a MeTV cartoon channel that literally just plays old shit all day, and I just love it. It's like a time capsule. Sure, some of it's an exaggerated version of things, but like when you look at especially the setting, they didn't think, like, sure, it's a goofy cat running around in a chase, but this goofy cat and the mouse is in the most realistic cities or towns or houses, whatever, that they could portray. They were portraying the time that they were in. And one of the things that was a really big like a narrative, a really common narrative, a really common theme to multiple cartoons, and it dawned on me, is the whole idea of inheriting a fortune. A long lost relative dies and you get this telegram saying, "Oh, you are a millionaire now." And I just, like, how many, have you ever met anybody like that? Have you ever actually heard of that happening in real life to anyone? They were just grinding it out one day, struggling, and when all of a sudden, they became millionaires overnight because of a rich uncle they never knew they had. Or the rich uncle sent them a thing saying, "You'll inherit $1 million if you go sleep in this house, or you abstain from this for a month," or, whatever it may be. Like, you ever heard anything even slightly close to that? Where did that idea come from, and how did it get to be such a prominent one? I guess it's a good jump off point for, you want to make interesting or eye-catching stories. I guess that works, right? I guess. But I mean, to make the same cartoon over and over again based on something that nobody can relate to just seems weird. These are just weird things. I'm clearing out the bases right now. I'm going through, because what I do is I text myself ideas that come to my head, throughout the day, so then I can talk about them with you guys. I want to look up carbine. Let's look up carbine. You guys are going to say, "What's carbine?" Let's find out, shall we? Carbine. Nope, not that one. That's the organic molecule. My bad. Carbine Company. Let's look up the Carbine Company. Carbine, formerly Reporty Homeland Security. What's Reporty? R-E-P-O-R-T-Y. Reporty Homeland Security is an Israeli technology company that develops advanced emergency communications solutions. Founded in 2015, Carbine focuses on providing real-time video, location, and data transmission to enhance emergency response systems worldwide. Its platform enables public safety answering points, PSAPs, to receive critical information from callers, improving response times and situational awareness. The company, headquartered in New York with R&D operations in Tel Aviv, has attracted significant investments and partnered with global telecoms. However, Carbine has faced scrutiny due to its connections with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, and Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Thiel, and concerns over its ties to Israeli intelligence. Gee, that's strange, don't you think? Gee, that's another one of these coincidences. Reporty, R-E-P-O-R-T-Y, Reporty, Homeland Security. Founders, Amir El Alex Dizengoff, Yoni Yatsun, and Little Lisham. Carbine's technology has been adopted by emergency services in 23 U.S. states and several other countries, including deployments in cities such as Miami, Atlanta, New Orleans, New York City, and by agencies in Mexico and Colombia. In Israel, its platform has been used by the Tel Aviv and Jerusalem municipalities and the volunteer emergency organization United Hatzalah. Carbine was founded in April 2015 by Amir Elichai, who serves as CEO, along with Alex Dizengoff, CTO, Yanni Yatsen, and Litel Leshem, under the name Reporty Homeland Security. The startup initially developed a platform for live video streaming and geolocation data to assist emergency call centers. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak invested approximately $1 million in the company in 2015 and assumed the role of chairman. That's interesting because it's actually that Ehud Barak donated a lot more than just $1 million, and it wasn't his money. He was the proxy. It was actually Epstein's money that was given to this company that has to do with exactly what we're talking about. Look at nothing but squares, nothing but right angles and straight lines. As long as you're not focused on the shading part of it. Anyway, again, that's one of those things I shouldn't even bother with, right? The company rebranded to Carbine in early 2018, a name referencing an extremely strong allotrope of carbon. By 2018, Carbine raised about $24 million in venture funding, including backing from Founders Fund, the first Israeli startup in that fund's portfolio, and was valued at nearly $100 million. Just like that, right? That's how that works for the rest of us, right? You just come up with this idea, this company. It's then just adopted everywhere, and it gets $100 million. Founded in April of 2015. And then it says the company rebranded to Carbine in early 2018. By 2018, Carbine had raised about $24 million in venture funding and was valued at nearly $100 million by 2018. Can you imagine you start a company up and within 3 years it's valued at $100 million? Even like, in what fucking crazy world does that even begin to make sense? In my pocket? In my pocket? Here, give me that one.
I like that one better.
Yeah, well, I need it for a bowl. You just need it for a quick spark. What do you think the chances are? Yeah. That I just happened to look this company up, and it's this telling.
I can't even look at these three. They're all looking like.
Yeah. She's so goofy. In April 2019, the company began collaborating with Cisco The network equipment giant is Cisco. That's the food distribution thing, right? Is that what we're talking about? Cisco Systems is an American multinational digital communications technology conglomerate corporation headquartered in San Jose, California. So this is a different Cisco. It's another company by the same name, huge company. Okay. With Cisco, the network equipment giant, to incorporate their hardware into its systems. 2 months later, Carbine announced a partnership with Google to integrate Android phone location services into emergency command centers across Mexico. You guys see what we're getting into here? This is how they track us. This is how, this is the big brother shit that you're scared of. But you just don't know exactly what to call it, so you call it something like Big Brother instead. Carbine established its headquarters in New York in October 2019 while maintaining R&D operations in Tel Aviv, and it expanded offices in the United States, Mexico, Europe, India, and, can you guess it? Can you guess the totally, completely random other country that has to do it? Can you guess which one it is? If you said Ukraine, oh, you'd be so surprised. What an amazing guess. How would you ever even begin to come up with that? In 2025, it secured a $100 million funding round led by strategic partners like AT&T and reported deployments in roughly 300 emergency response centers worldwide. Another $100 million contract. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, why not? Yeah, what the fuck? Carbine develops cloud-based next-generation 911 solutions and modernizing emergency communications. I don't even want to read this, but I think it's probably part of it. Its platform enables real-time transmissions of rich data from callers to public safety answering points, PSAPs. For example, when a distress call is made, Carbine system can provide the 911 dispatcher with the caller's precise GPS location, live video feed from the caller's smartphone camera, audio streaming, text messaging, and other telemetry in parallel with the voice call. How? Sorry. So this is that system that can hack into your shit. They can turn your camera on. They can turn your audio on. They can do all of these things. And to think like, I mean, I must be just stupid, right? But to think that the precise location of the phone with the GPS in it, like I can look up directions somewhere and it'll say, from your location to wherever you're going. It doesn't say from a near approximate location to wherever you're going. If you are on your trip and say you turn into a parking lot, go to the gas station or whatever.
Did you see the pictures I sent?
Yeah. The GPS doesn't.
Cool ass building.
Yeah, of course. And who built them?
this, and I was in the hood.
Right.
I was at McNichols and Joseph Campo.
Yeah, it's bad.
I was in the hood. Oh, we're sitting there. I'm sitting out front of Mac, talking with some dude that had a little baby pit bull with him. I'm Joseph Campo. Fucking 8-point buck runs across the street right near us, in the middle of fucking the hood. Where did a deer come from? Sorry.
Think about it. How is this some sort of breakthrough that when they need to find you, they can't? They have to have a specific service. Why doesn't Google Maps just tell the police or whoever exactly where the phone is? I don't understand. It just seems, as far as cell phone technology goes, the ability to pinpoint exactly where the cell phone is doesn't seem like some super, advanced technology. It seems like it's very, very simple. But I guess because they have to create this illusion, that's how we think. And of course, this is the shit that they don't want the rest of us. Like, if everybody was asking this question, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're telling me this is new? By 2025, you finally securing this technology that's able to tell people exactly where an emergency is happening? That's for real? Like, what the fuck are you talking? It's like chemtrails, right? What do you think? I bet they've been able to drop shit out of planes since literally the day after flying a plane. Since as soon as they flew the plane, they could drop shit out of it. Now, the ability to drop shit out of the plane has advanced with technology, obviously. But does anybody think they're not capable of like, you've been to an air show, right? You've literally seen skywriting, right? That's not what the planes do until they flip it on, and then suddenly they have this huge, trail. Sometimes it's colored. But like, so much of it comes down to, you don't really think it works that way, do you? Like, or it does, or like they can't do this or they can't do that. Of course they can track your exact phone location. And they let that shit out sometimes. Like, when an important person, something happens to them, then suddenly they have this technology that they don't normally have. Then suddenly it's NCIS and shit with the control room and the I mean, again, it's so stupid to think about it, but like, all of those shows that exist along those lines, NCIS and Criminal Minds and all this shit. If those things were real, if they really had all that technology, then crime, murder wouldn't be such a unsolvable thing. My favorite part about those shows is when, well, there's two favorites. One is when the group is explaining, especially in Criminal Minds, when they're like giving the presentation to the local police station or whatever, and like they each say a line. Our killer is known to have issues with his mother from a young age, and then it goes to the next person, like, and his mother was mean to him, and because of that he does this, that, and the other, and then it goes to the next person. Like, they planned out this speech beforehand. They all had to get a speaking line in the speech. It wouldn't be just the leader explaining things. No, each person would have a line, right? But even better is when, like, and this is done in so many shows, the MacGuffin in all of those shows. Criminal Minds has two MacGuffins. It has Dr. Reed, who happens to know anything you need to know at any time. And whatever he can't figure out, well, then there's Penelope. And Penelope can hack into anything and any information she needs from, like, yeah, that's how that works. Right? And my favorite is when, like, somebody says, okay, you know, they're giving this is our killers. This is our killer. This is our unsub presentation. And they click the button on the computer, and the computer plays out this, you know, couple minute long montage or you know, just package put together. Like, when did the you know, the computer person put that package together, edit all that stuff, animate what they needed to animate? The zoom in, enhance cliche that they always use. Zoom in, enhance, zoom in, enhance. Like, if any of that shit was real, we wouldn't live in this world. One of the dead giveaways to me is back, you know, NCIS. These shows that are on the Ion network, they ran between like 2005 and 2015. I mean, some of them are still going, but this is late aughts, early teens technology. And there was one episode that just sticks in my head. And it was actually, I've seen it, multiple versions of this in multiple different shows, but it was this one episode of, I believe it was NCIS, where there was a shooting that happened at like a festival or something like that. And of course they used the MacGuffin to say that at any given event where there's lots of people, in today's society, again, that's you know, 20 years ago, almost 15, 20 years ago, that so many people are taking pictures and uploading them to social media, pictures or videos or whatever, that they can basically create a 3D model of any situation by just going to the people's pages, you know, putting the search parameters of, you know, this day, this time, in this location, all of the pictures that were uploaded to social media on that day, time, and location. And then they pull it up and they can create a 3D model because everybody's so busy taking pictures. Everybody's taking videos. And you know, that doesn't even seems pretty feasible. What seems actually like another one of these things that they should have been able to do for a long time now. So then when you look at the Trump shooting, the WWE blade job Trump shooting, you know, I don't know how many of you have thought about this or think about this, but how many cell phone or live feed videos have you seen from that particular incident? I know there's a couple of cell phone videos that exist from away from the main event, where you can hear the gunshots in the distance and the people start moving around. There's a couple of videos of the supposed shooter on top of the building. But am I to believe that during Trump's speech, in 2024, in this age where people walk around with 2 cell phones, where everyone is live or recording damn near everything, that there are no cell phone or live feed videos of that shooting, and they haven't been able to upload a 3D model based on all of the different people there? Trump said there were tens of thousands of people there. You can literally see that behind him when he's talking, there are several people with cell phones. There's a woman directly behind him and big white phone. She's sitting there the whole time. Gunshots ring out. The former president, future president, falls to the ground. You don't know if he's alive or dead, and she just sits there. You definitely don't know if there's any more gunshots coming. You don't know how many shooters there are. You don't know if the stage is about to blow up. And yet she just sits there like everybody behind him. Nobody gets up, nobody runs. It's like when MLK was shot. And Jesse Jackson and the few other people that were there didn't immediately duck down and hide and wait for an all clear from police. No, they all sat there and pointed in the direction they thought the shot came from so that the picture could be taken. Because that's how people work, right? If you were at an event and shooting started happening, you wouldn't run. You just sit there and wait. Do. Sure hope this cleans up soon. You wouldn't try to find cover, would you? And they say that the shooter was to Trump's like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So shouldn't that mean that somebody behind Trump, especially if the bullet just nicked his ear, shouldn't somebody behind Trump have been shot? Now, Red Shirt Joseph, the guy initially interviewed by the news about everything, he had on a red shirt, and he said, "My name's Joseph, I don't want to give my last name." He said, without question, the shooter was to Trump's 9 o'clock. Had to be Trump's 9 o'clock, Trump's 8 o'clock, something like that. Because the one dude who was killed, who was shot in the head, was off to Trump's left. Kind of way off to Trump's left. And the Red Shirt Joseph said, without a shadow of a doubt, that the shots, that the shooter, or that the guy who died was in between Trump and the shooter. And the shots, without a doubt, had to come from Trump's left because he saw that guy's head explode and the spray go off. And, you know, he saw this guy die. And he said, without a shadow of a doubt, that's the direction the shots came from. Again, that's not what matches what we're told. We're told that Trump, facing the podium to his like 1:30. I mean, if you look at the video, he looks down to the left just before the shot rings out. So if he looks down to the left and the shooter is off to this direction, how did it hit his ear? His big fat fucking head would have been in the way. And again, that bullet, if it just hit his ear, it should have hit somebody behind him. But again, you know, there's literally only the hard cam footage of it. There is a video of somebody from Trump's like 7 o'clock, but up behind him, apparently. And it shows across, you can see the supposed shooter's head across the way on top of the building walking, and then he goes behind this awning, he disappears for a minute, and then he comes out, and supposedly after he comes out the other side is when he starts shooting, but the footage stops. We don't get any footage from that. One of the best videos you can look up on YouTube is there's a group of military guys who are just sick of the conspiracies out there. These conspiracies. And they're snipers, I guess. And, you know, they're sick of all the people saying that if Trump would have been hit by that bullet, it would have taken his whole head off. The damage would have been much more significant. It wouldn't today look like nothing had happened because, of course, today there's literally nothing. There's no evidence of any sort of gunshot, anything. And of course, you know, at the Republican National Convention, they played the card that they always play. They play the same card with the Vegas shooter, or with the main like witness maintenance man from the Vegas shooting, where he went on Ellen to tell his story, and Ellen prefaced it by saying, now, he's going to tell this story, but he's only going to tell it once because it's just so painful for him to tell it. So he's only going to tell it this one time, and then he's never going to tell it again. What sense does that make? What sense would it make for Trump to be like, yeah, I was shot at. I fucking survived a shooting. It actually hit me, but I'm never going to talk about it. Trump, who brags about every fucking thing he got. I was probably the best person shot ever. I probably healed better than anybody else ever has. I know more about being shot than anybody knows. Trump comes out at the Republican National Convention and says, okay, well, I'm going to tell this story, but I'm only going to tell it once. I'll never tell it again. And of course, every single journalist has abided by that. Nobody's asked him about that shit. He said he was going to tell the story once, and that's that. You know why? Because he's too fucking stupid to actually get the story correct every time he tells it. He's such a blowhard that they know that he'll just start rambling and he'll get some of the details wrong that he's supposed to get right. Yeah, and when the bullet hit my left ear, I started crying. You mean your right ear? No, it was my left ear. I probably know more about being shot in the left ear than anyone. Like, they know how stupid this man is. So they just, you know, they did the preemptive strike. They did the Israeli tactic, the preemptive strike. It's not an act of war, it's a preemptive strike. It's a defensive strike just in advance. It's a defensive strike to prevent you from doing the strike. We knew you were going to strike us. So it's a defensive strike in advance. Well, I'm going to tell this story, but I'm never going to tell it again. So there's this group of Marines, or whatever they are, that again, they decide they're sick of all the conspiracy theorists. Trump's head should be blown off. So they get one of those like fake cadavers that's made of like jelly and fucking bone, fake bones, but it mimics human bodies really, really well when you're doing ballistic testing and weapons testing and shit like that. It's, if you ever seen that show Forged in Fire or whatever, the one where they make the weapons, they make the different knives and shit, they have these things to just so they can test the knives to see what damage they do, whatever. So they have one of these jelly dummies made of Trump. And they set up, you know, they got the same gun that was supposedly used, and they, you know, set up the distance and all that to be the same thing that was supposed to have happened. And these expert marksmen do their best to try to shoot, you know, hit the same target. So the first shot happens and it nicks the bottom of Trump's ear, and it just nicks it. And even that little nick on the bottom of the ear shows that something significantly more would have happened to Trump had he been hit. But the Marines are all like, look, his head's still on, yeah. And they're all like high-fiving and shit. They're all happy. And they're like, yeah, but you know what? We did only hit the bottom. We need to get closer to where it was actually hit up top. So the second shot they do hits right here. And with like mega super slow 24, you guys wondering why I'm not responding to comments? It's because the comments have been shut off from my perspective. You know that thing you've never heard anyone else say? If you've heard anyone else say it, that the comment section has been shut off in the middle of their live feed from their perspective, while you can clearly still comment, then smash that dislike. But if you've never heard anyone else say that before, hit the like button, share button, sub. Something is going on here if you're experiencing something unique. Just keep that in mind. Take 2 seconds to share it on Facebook under the head, this guy's crazy. Somebody come tell him how he's crazy. If that's what you need to do to protect yourself from scrutiny, but you still want to share, do it that way. Whatever it takes. Anyway, the second shot hits like right here. And under the super slow motion camera, you can see the bullet hits and the shock wave just ripples the whole face. And his ear blows up like this. It expands out like this far. The whole outside, just damage is catastrophic to the ear. And this time, they're talking about, they just looked at the super slow-mo, and now they're like, well, yeah, well, his head's still on though, right? And the other guy's like, yeah, it is. But I am sort of shocked by how much distortion was in the ear, right? And then it just cuts. Like this guy is explaining why It's kind of fucking weird that his whole ear exploded and that his shit would have just been hanging off according to the second test. But they literally cut him off after he says, I'm kind of shocked by how much distortion took place, and then it just cuts in the middle of the sentence. You can literally see the proof that if he actually got shot by a high-powered rifle, even if it just nicked his ear, it would have been catastrophic damage to the ear, to the everything. That's usually how things work. When you look at the proof that's provided, it don't make no sense. I can prove it to you. I can prove that you guys all know it too, right? This is also a proof of the arrogance that dominates our society, but how many of you believe the magic bullet theory? When it comes to Kennedy, the Kennedy assassination. How many of you believe the magic bullet theory? The bullet traveled through this, did all these turns, bounced off of bones, went through one person into the other person, and then was on the gurney. Was a pristine copy of the bullet was sitting on the gurney, undamaged, virtually undamaged, after bouncing off all these bones and creating like 7 entry and exit wounds in 2 different bodies and this, that, and the other. A pristine bullet is found on the gurney at the hospital. And it was actually on Kennedy's. The guy that actually that found it, supposedly found it, said he placed it on Kennedy's gurney, not on Governor Connolly's gurney. And even if you don't know all the little bits and pieces of it, I guarantee none of you on here, I can't see of course, but out of the 111 people watching, there's not a single person dumb enough to say they believe Oswald shot Kennedy in this impossible way. 8 shots in 3 seconds with a bolt-action rifle. Joe Rogan has 0 credibility anymore. Joe Rogan was saying, you know, when it was brought up to him and it was like, well, what about what Jesse Ventura says, that he couldn't even get off the 8 shots, or the 3 shots in 8 seconds with that bolt-action rifle. Joe said, well, he must not know what he's doing. Jesse's a fucking Navy SEAL. He was an expert marksman in his position. But Joe Rogan knows more than Jesse Ventura about this. You guys remember Jesse Ventura had a governor, Jesse Ventura, literally had a show where he exposed a bunch of this shit. He went up to the HARP facility in Alaska that's supposed to be open to the public. And when he showed up, he was denied access. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a public thing. I should be able to come in here. And besides, I'm a fucking governor. I have governmental clearance. Why can't I come in here? And they were like, nope. Conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura. Every single episode of that is fucking mind-blowing. And you can't tell me that it wasn't getting good ratings. You can't tell me that it wasn't a highly, a heavily watched show. Why would they cancel it? I mean, we're seeing it now supposedly with the Colbert Show. The highest rated of all of the nightly talk shows is getting canceled due to poor performance. Just after he calls out Paramount for the Trump lawsuit, that they initially said that it was a frivolous lawsuit, that they have the proof he can't win this. Just suddenly they give in and give him what, $16 million? For what? Because they edited a video. There's one time when Kamala was speaking, they edited the video to make her not sound as crazy as she is. And they gave in to that bullshit? And they're going to cancel Colbert over it? Like, it's just fucking silly. I don't think Colbert will get canceled. But maybe. How many of you actually believe Trump was shot at? Trump gets shot at, falls down, does the quick blade job underneath the crowd, I think. I don't even know if he does a blade job, but does the blade job. I just got pooped on. Yeah, bird poop. So gross. People say, oh, that's good luck. That's good luck. You got good luck. Gross. That's fucking nasty. I've been waiting for it to happen. Must be God. That must be God mad at me. Trump, Trump shot. Secret Service piles up on him. Then, like, the logistics of it just don't make any sense. They have no idea how many shooters there are. They don't know if there's a second shooter somewhere. They don't know if the stage is going to explode or anything like that, but mainly the shooter thing. They cover him up. He's then allowed to stand up. And for some insane fucking reason, he has female Secret Service agents. Female Secret Service agents. He's not a short guy. You know, he's what, 6'2" or some shit? Maybe he was 6'2" at one point. I'm sure he's not anymore. But they have these little, 5'8" female Secret Service. There's at least two of them that I can remember. The main one being that when he stood up, the one that was in between him and the hard camera, they had the Secret Service around him. They had a tall guy on his right and a tall guy on his left, and then this short female in front of him, which like framed his head. If you were looking for the headshot, that would be the exact time. But it frames his head, so he's then allowed to walk and go, fight, fight, and he's got this blood smear. It's not like he's profusely bleeding all over the place because this bullet just fucking tore through his ear and expanded his ear, shredded his ear, and he's gonna, nothing like that happens. It's almost like it's dry. It's almost immediately dried blood on his face somehow. And he's herded to the car where he fight. He's again, it's this perfect frame of his face. They get him into the car, and now the second fat little Secret Service agent with the curly hair, standing there with her gun. She goes to put it in her holster 2 or 3 times, and she can't get it in, so she does like one of those, and then the feed cuts. She can't even get her gun in her fucking holster? This is a Secret Service agent? Why would you have female Secret Service agents? Like, I know this makes a lot of chicks mad, but it's really weird how they've tricked females into thinking doing manly shit makes them more feminine, makes them more females. You're females. You're not, like there are so many videos out there where it'll show you like some female champion in some sort of fighting discipline starts and she's been crushing all the female competition. She knocks everyone out. She just bulldozes over the other females that are put in front of her. And people start hyping her up. Man, she could beat a dude. She could beat a dude. She could beat a dude. So they set up a fight, and she's not fighting some champion. She's reasonably basically trained guy who, he's nothing special, and she gets destroyed. It's just what it is. Like, it's nothing against you as people. Imagine if I was sitting here trying to be like, no, dudes can have babies just as much as women can have babies. We can. I mean, I get it. It sucks. I wouldn't be a big fan of it if I was a female. I wouldn't like this idea of being physically, but that's the trade-off. That's why, you get to put on a tight shirt and go to the bar. You get to go to the bar in fucking sweatpants and a baggy t-shirt with no money in your pocket and have a great time. Dudes will buy you drinks left and right. People will buy you food. People will pay for your Uber, everything. Because you're a chick. You don't even have to be a hot chick. You're going to have a better time the hotter you are. But, even fugly chicks can have a good time for free. You get to experience the best thing, right? You get to experience like to create, to feel that bond, that thing growing in your stomach, and have that connection that only mothers have. Are you trying to discredit that? Are you trying to say that doesn't beat all other shit that because we can lift shit up that you can't do? Because we can run faster than you and throw things harder than you can. That outweighs the fact that you can create life. Are you fucking kidding me? Have you really been, like, totally programmed to be out of your fucking mind? Out of your fucking mind. The best part is how so much of the entitlement that does come with being female is being passed down, but none of the good shit. Like, you see it time and time again in all those podcasts where, well, they want a man who's at least 6 foot tall, who makes $100,000 a year and drives this and does that, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, let's say you could get that situation, what do you then bring to the relationship? And they go, well, I'm all down for him. I got his back for anything. He can talk to me about anything. I'll stand up to any broad for him. I'll stand up to anyone for him. I got him. They never say, well, I'll fucking, if he goes to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and brings home a living so all of us can live, me and the family can live and live a good, comfortable life and not have to worry about shit, I'm going to make sure that man is fed. I'm going to make sure that man's house is clean. I'm going to make sure that, he's sexed up real good. They don't do anything like that. They what they want is a maid. They want to also, with that $100,000 comes a maid. So they don't actually have to do shit. They don't bring anything to the fucking table other than, well, I got a pussy. So. Which will expire at some point. Any married man will tell you that shit expires. You'll be knocking on the door and nobody's home. It's like biological shit, right? It's part of who women are. And I would say the exact same thing if it was the other way around. If the woman has the much better job, makes a lot more money and shit, well, then as the husband who stays home, you should have her food made. You should have her house cleaned. You should have her laundry done. That's part of the arrangement. That's the deal. That's the partnership. Nothing worse than when you see these stories like on Maury and shit where the girl's like, so I was all irresponsible and I was out having sex when I knew I was on my period or about to be on my period, so I got pregnant with this boyfriend who, I barely knew and shit, but now I've trapped this motherfucker with a baby. He goes to work all day, and when he gets home, it's like, here, it's your turn. I've been with this kid all day, blah, 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 and now it's your turn. It's so fucking insane. It's so insane and it's so commonplace. And you want to know an argument that makes women angrier than like most things? Such a hypocritical argument, but For some reason, all these women's lib, pro-choice, I'm pro-choice, but still, all these women's lib, like, anything you can do, I can do better kind of bullshit people, and you can't tell me what to do, and I'm a woman, I'm strong, I don't answer to no man, nah, 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 nah. As soon as I say your vagina is your responsibility, it's 100% your responsibility to not get pregnant by some random dude, you fucking moron. Every single time I point that out, women get mad at me. When I sit here and I say, listen, that is yours. You are responsible for it. I have no idea. I assume if you're out, especially like you're at the bar or something and you're about to have a one-night stand, that you know your own fucking cycle that you've been having since you were, what, 11, 12, 13 years old? Every single month, 12 months out of the year, you have the same thing happens. Most of you, it's on a schedule. I know that some of you, it's not on quite the schedule. And if that's you, then what the fuck are you doing having sex with somebody, unprotected sex with somebody, and you're not on the pill? If you know that you're one of those people whose period could start at any time, what the fuck are you doing? But more, I'm speaking to the women who know their shit, their cycle. They can, like, that's how they know what day it is. You know, oh shit, I taste metal. Must be the 15th. Like, you know. That is your vagina. I know nothing about it. It's like all the rest of them to me. Sure, they might look a little different. Sure, some might have a little bit more curtain action than others. You know, aesthetically, they might not look the same. But on the inside, it's all the same. And I know fucking nothing about how your cycle works. You do. So what the fuck are you doing having sex when you know there's even a slight possibility you could be pregnant? Do you know how unfair that is to not just yourself, but the dude and that kid? Nobody should be having kids unless they're with somebody they love and they can provide the two-parent system and blah, 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 blah. The kid needs that. I don't care how fucking arrogant you are, women. No situation is better with a single woman than a dual parent system. No kid is better off. Now, if the parent, in a good situation, obviously. You know, like if you could ideally have it, it's never better to have a single mother than it is to have a two-parent system. Single mother, single father, either way, it's never better that way. The kids should be getting both sides, both that masculine and feminine energy from both sides, both the influence. That's how you create these much more well-rounded whole people. I'm so fucking sick of the Maury generation. Maury Povich, the Jew, who is a piece of shit, who literally exploited people at their worst just so they could get a DNA test. Well, you want to actually know this, I guess you got to let us exploit you. It's fucking nuts. And Maury's constantly with his, oh, it's an honest mistake. It was an honest mistake. It's the most dishonest fucking non-mistake that you could make. It's not a mistake that you cheated on somebody. It's not a mistake that you were having sex, unprotected sex with multiple people within the same few days of each other. That wasn't a mistake. That was a really shitty decision. And you need to be held responsible for that. And especially if you trick some guy into believing that this is his kid that he ends up falling in love with, even though he has all these doubts and whatnot. It's a kid. How could you not fall in love with a kid and the whole idea of fatherhood and all? I mean, it's, you know, it's not the kid's fault. But these, you know, what's one thing you never see on these shows, and I'm surprised nobody ever says it. I've never heard anybody say it. Nobody ever says, like, look, I don't mind the kid nearly as much as the fucking mom and her mother. I want nothing to do with this broad and her fucking family. They're insane. Do you see how they're reacting right now? The audacity of the females that are testing a second guy, or maybe he's like the fifth guy that's been tested. And yet every single time they're like, oh no, you the daddy. You the daddy. I know you the daddy. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. And then you are, and before he can even finish, like, get to the chick is already starting to stand up and run out because she already knows. And what's even worse is all the chicks that are, I'm 1,000%. I am 1,000%. Using Trump math and shit. I am 1,600%. And they have this guy, you know, I didn't sleep with anybody else. I swear on my everything. I didn't sleep with anybody else. You know you slept with somebody else, you fucking idiot. You piece of shit person. How dare you trap somebody in this life, in this parenthood life, instead of being out, being a free fucking individual person. They got to be stuck with some bullshit because you're lying. Fuck you. That is such a horrible thing to do. I think a lot of us, it's nothing new. I think a lot of us who, you know, I think a lot of us think this dude is our grandfather who's not really our grandfather. Because there wasn't testing back then. But everybody just assumes their grandmother was this wholesome broad who got pregnant at a really young age to some dude that she then had to marry because she was pregnant. You know, back in the day where they would drive around in fucking queen-size bed cars with, the seats would fold down and they would go drive to Makeout Point. What do you think? They were really making out? That's all they were doing back then? Why do you think VD clinics and shit like that were everywhere back in those days, in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s? Venereal disease. Because they were all fucking each other. And they didn't have condoms and shit. Only people that wore condoms were sailors back in the day. You know, because they were sleeping with foreign broads. Ew. Your grandmother, I know you don't want to believe this, but your grandmother was fucking, she was fucking. She didn't lose her virginity to your grandfather. And I think a lot of us, again, you'll like see that, like, they had 4 kids or whatever, but the oldest one doesn't look like any of the other ones and shit. And they just write that shit off. Oh, well, he just must have some different genes than the other ones did. No. And I personally, like, I am the furthest thing from, women are whores and men are heroes for sleeping with people. I think have all the sex you want, That's totally cool. Like, I don't think anything makes you a slut. You could sleep around with a bunch of different people. Who cares? You're a pleasure seeker. You like the variety of life. That's fine. As long as you're fucking responsible about that shit. As long as you're not, swapping fucking herpes and getting pregnant, this, that, and like, good for you. Enjoy it. Do life. If you're like, well, if I don't sleep with the guy, he's gonna leave me. Good. If you're with a guy, you're having this great time and things start escalating. First of all, if you really like him that much, throw out the BJ. I don't know what guy's gonna be like, oh, fuck that. You might not get anything out of it, you selfish broad. But if you're really that concerned about it, what's the difference? You've sucked many a dick in your life. What's one other one? But be smart about it. Look, doesn't it look like a nose and some guy sticking his tongue out? But if you say to a guy, listen, I think I'm at that point in the month where I might have, I might be able to get pregnant, so we're not having sex tonight. You want this thing, you're gonna have to go on a second date, a third date. But here, let me blow your socks off, because I put you through the whole, I got you all hot and bothered. Like, if you know that it's your time, then don't progress. Don't make out, fool around, titties, ass, blah, blah. And then at the last minute be like, oh, no, let's stop. I don't want to go any further. I don't want to be considered a slut. What are you fucking talking about? Anybody that considers you a slut can eat the fucking bag of dicks themselves. Who gives a shit? And if you tell the guy, listen, I'm not doing the sex thing, I don't want us getting pregnant, and he gets all mad, good. You know that guy's a piece of shit. It's not like there's not a fucking, a shit ton of, it's not like you don't have other options, literally calling your phone at the same time. If the guy is a douchebag, don't give in. What's the thing? I don't get it. Why? Well, I wanted to keep him. I figured he wouldn't like me if I didn't sleep with him. You dumbass. Notice how you'll never see like an attractive woman being like, men are like, you never see that. It's the the least attractive women are always the ones who are like, those are the biggest sluts. Those are sluts. If that woman could be a slut, if that woman could, the level of hot guys that say this slut gets, she'd do the same thing. She's just ugly and weird, and she knows nobody likes her, so she takes it on like, you're a slut. Don't listen to that dumb broad. And if you're a dude out there and you get all weird because, like anybody that wants their woman to be a virgin, that's some weirdo shit there. What you want is someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, so they keep your interest. How do you know? Like, there are plenty of people out there that aren't very good at sex. What, are you going to lock yourself down with somebody who, come to find out, has all these weird issues and just lays there? That's your only option for the rest of your... Fuck that. I think we should actually start looking at things a little differently. I think we should let our biology tell us things. Because any girl will tell you, not all dudes' nut taste the same. Sometimes it's putrid. Sometimes it's like, that wasn't horrible. I would assume it's all horrible. I can't imagine ever doing it. But then again, like, so is licking vagina. That shit's gross as fuck. But when you're straight, like, it's hot. Like it shouldn't make sense in reality, but if you're straight, then that's what your programming does, and it's very, But when you think about it from like a logical standpoint, it's pretty gross. Dicks are gross. Vaginas are gross. Putting your mouth in any of those positions is kind of gross. It's gross, especially when it's like not somebody you like. Like, you would never put your fucking face in the lunch lady's vagina. You would never suck the bus driver's dick. Like, makes sense, right? But I think, like, it should be like a barometer for us, right? If you blow the dude and it's putrid, probably not meant to be with that guy. That's biology telling you, hey, something's not right here. This guy isn't for you. If you go down on a chick and you're like, oh, God, this is a sour pussy, what the fuck? You should probably be like, yeah, you know what? This isn't the right broad for me. But I know that we can't do that. We can't look at it like that. Girls are supposed to play hard to get, and you know, blah, blah, all this stupid shit. Like, it's all them. It's all their insecurities being pushed on us through Hollywood. So then we think the same fucking way. They're the tiniest dick ones of all of us. They're the ugliest little trolls of all of us. They're the ones with so many insecurities. They're the ones that have created all the narratives we live by. Jocks beat up nerds. Where do you think jocks learned to beat up nerds? From TV. And then it suddenly changed that, holy shit, the nerds are really smart and blah, blah, blah. So now it doesn't happen nearly as much. It still happens, no doubt, but it's not like it used to be, where the teachers would turn a blind eye to it and shit because those are the nerds. There's a movie called Hollywoodism that will be in the link to this video. And Hollywoodism explains all of it to you. Literally all of it. Don't you ever wonder why things are the way, the way they are? Why we think the way we think? Why you think the way you think? How does two dudes having disgusting butt sex in their house affect you in the slightest? How does a straight couple in their house having disgusting butt sex affect you? Or having loving, beautiful, making love. How does that affect you? Are you affected by the two dudes making love in their house as much or less than the straight couple making love in their house? How does that affect your everyday life? Why do you have such homophobic bullshit inside you? Where'd that come from? Now, I totally get it, right? If you were to be like, ew, I think me being gay is gross, I would be like, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think me being gay is fucking disgusting. I want nothing to do with dicks or hairy dudes or, you know, anything. Ugh, dudes are gross. I'm so grateful that biologically my wife is attracted to my gross dudeness because I think dudes are gross. And it's the same way in reverse. You know, if you're honest, then it's understandable because gay guys think vaginas are disgusting. You couldn't pay a gay guy, well, it's weird because I think about like how many closeted dudes exist out there. And what kind of hellish torment is that? Like, I think about it in reverse. If I had to fake my way through society by pretending to be gay, I had to pretend, get myself a boyfriend, have all sorts of gay sex, and, you know, anal, oral, blah, 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 have all kinds of gay sex with dudes, just so society wouldn't beat me up, would accept me. I don't know how I could ever do that. And I think about all the gay dudes out there that fake their way through marriage for a ton of years and shit. So many times you see that shit and you go, how did she ever even fall? Like, he's clearly gay. How did she fall for that? What was attractive about the gay guy? He's gay. Like, that had to be weird, right? And I feel so bad for that person, for any of those people in that situation. To pretend to be gay, to pretend to be straight, that would be awful. You know, so it's such a, it's all such weird bullshit. But it's understandable, right? If you say that to me, for me to do it is disgusting, I am totally opposed to me being gay. 100%. I am me gay homophobic. I want nothing to do with me being gay. That just doesn't work for me. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like if the gay guy says there's nothing that works for me about having sex with a fucking woman, or with a gay female, same thing. Like, I can't imagine being a gay female and being pounded by some fucking nasty, sweaty, smelly dude. Ugh. To have to fake my way through that would be disgusting. So I can get that. Like, I understand that if people say that they don't like gay for themselves, great. Good for you. I hope you're that secure. I hope you're not dumb enough, or not even dumb enough. I hope you're not insecure enough that you say gay is a choice. Because if you think gay is a choice, that means gay is a choice for you. And you choose not to act on those things. And I feel bad for you. You should act on those urges. You should try that shit out. Maybe you'll be happier. Maybe you won't be such a douchebag. You know? But for anybody that's not gay, or just like for gay guys, to be able to go, you know what, I think I'm gonna stick a dick in my mouth. That's not you're not confused. You're gay, and that's it. You're gay. There's no choice there. You're not choosing to put dicks in your mouth because you just like, maybe I'll like this. No, you're fucking gay. If you could put a dick anywhere near you, you're gay, and you're a dude. There's no choice there. Should I mess with that delicious dick or not? If you think it's a choice for you. And you should do something about that. But the reality is, there's no choice to it. You're that way. You either like dicks or you don't. It's black or white, man. Now, you might like both. You might be one of those selfish motherfuckers that likes everything. Go ahead. What I think is so amazing is this arrogant perspective we all have. That you think because you don't like it, they shouldn't do it. For me, as long as you're not hurting somebody against their will, and you're definitely not fucking with children, I don't give a fuck what you do. Fuck every hole you want to. Fuck all the feet you want to, you fucking weird foot fuckers. 64 people on here, I guarantee somebody on here likes fucking feet. They're not gonna fucking say it, because it's fucking weird. But if you watch porn nowadays, it's unavoidable. There's you know how porn does, like, it's, you know, starts with the blowjob and goes with this and then gets to this position, then gets to that position, and they go through like the list of positions for the camera. Well, now somehow feet has become one of those positions in a lot of shit. And that's fucking beyond me. What could you possibly want to fuck feet for? Here, let me oil up your feet real good. And gross, fucking weird. Do I think you shouldn't be allowed to do that? No. Do I think you should be discriminated against and not have the same rights as everybody else because you happen to be a weird foot fucker? No. Fuck on the feet you want. What the fuck do I care? That doesn't affect me at all. And I just, you know, it's all distraction. Why do you think Pride Month is in June? Why do you think that works out that way? Oh, because there was the event that happened in the fucking New York, whatever, the village in New York, where the bar was raided, or I can't remember the fucking narrative, whatever. That's the one that's given. You know why Pride Month is in June? Because May is Passover. Passover happens at a different location, different times in May. Sometimes it's in the beginning, sometimes it's in the end, but it's in May. And Passover is when they love to spill as much blood as possible. If you go back and you look, there are many, many things happen where, like, you know, because Passover starts at sunset at the one night, and then it, you know, so from sunset to the morning, they do a bunch of rituals, and then from then on, there'll be a bombing campaign or whatever. It's blood ritual shit. And if it weren't for Pride Month happening in June, well, then there might be a focus on it. But because Pride Month happens right after that, and there's always the same, you know, look, this one dude in drag read a book to some children, and, you know, like there's all the stories that the distraction comes out. Look at these people at this parade for gays and whatnot. What about all the children? Why are you taking your children to a gay pride parade if you don't want them seeing gay people being gay? Do you realize how stupid that is? Well, I took my children to the gay pride parade, and there was a dude, and had his penis showing. His penis, you could see his penis. It was in a sock. So you couldn't see it, but it was obvious his penis was in a sock, and it was at the gay pride parade. How dare they be gay? Didn't they know me and my kids were there? It's fucking silly, man. Don't go to the gay pride parades. You realize that as soon as gay stops bothering people, all that shit goes away anyway? You really want gay pride parades and all that flamboyant bullshit to go away? Stop paying attention to it. The only reason it exists, and it exists in such an extreme fashion, is to fly in the face of all you fucking piece of shit, you know, homophobes out there. That's it. It's to piss you off. But you know, you don't like that acknowledgement, right? No, they're just bad guys because they're gay. And the Bible says, where does the Bible say it? So many people love to quote the Sodom and Gomorrah bullshit, or at least quote the idea of Sodom and Gomorrah. They don't actually know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But they love to say that's what it is. The only reason anyone was gay in Sodom and Gomorrah is because God switched on a switch or something. You guys want to do Sodom and Gomorrah real quick? We'll do it real quick. So, picture this. Sicily. 0. Picture this. Palestine. -3. So this dude named Lot is sitting outside of Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, it's like there's a big gate that goes around both Sodom and Gomorrah. These are two separate cities that are, I guess, connected. I don't really know. It's the logistics in the Bible are always some of the goofiest giveaways. You know, so stupid. But he's like sitting on a fence or some shit. You know, whittling. Just sitting there, just sitting there. And he's like this old man. He's like 90 some years old. But, you know, back then, it's funny because the narrative is that people aged the same, but they stayed alive a lot longer. So 90 years old was still 90 years old, but then you could live to be like 100. It's not like at 90 you looked like you were 15 or some shit. That's not how it worked. He's an old man. And these two men, they're angels in disguise. These two men come walking up. Now, remember, the Bible is all Jewish. You Christians out there, I don't know what you're reading, but all of the characters and all of the narratives are Jewish. They're not Christians weren't a thing. It wasn't, But Lot's sitting there, whittling his little toy figure or something. And the angels come walking up, and Lot's like, hey, why don't you come stay at my house? And they're like, no, that's weird. And Lot's like, I'll make you some unleavened bread. Besides, where you going's very far. Because they were like, no, we're going to this place over there. And Lot's like, but it's getting late, and I'll make you some unleavened bread. You can stay the night. We'll have a campfire. I'll tell stories. And they're like, okay, I guess we'll come stay at your house. So then it's later, and suddenly, I love the visual of this in my head. Like, think about what 0 looked like. Think about what, in your head, minus 25 looks like, or whatever the time is prior to, like, 1900. Even though that, very weird. The whole Tartarian advanced narrative comes into play, but whatever. So imagine like this town, 2 towns full of people, and it's like blacksmiths, bink, bink, and they're like hammering shit, and like, donkeys are walking by, and the old lady fruit stand, hey, come get your peaches and shit. Like, I don't know. Whatever you picture old-timey, what it looked like back then. I just, making horseshoes and shit, putting shoes on horses, bink, bink. Like, suddenly, all of the men in the town are stricken with gay. But it's a very unique kind of gay. Because somehow they all know that these 2 men are inside of Lot's house. Now, it's not like there are cell phones and video cameras and shit, right? So how does the random blacksmith, this pink, 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 suddenly, boom, there's gay guys in a house way over there. They all congregate on like Lot's house. Now remember, they're gay, but it's not like they're all just having an orgy and fucking each other. All these dudes are congregating outside of Lot's house, and they're all gay, but they're not fucking each other. They start yelling out, hey, Lot, send out those 2 guys you got in your house, because we want to be gay with them. And Lot's like, I'll handle this. So he goes outside, and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You guys aren't gay. And they're like, well, we are right now. And we're not gay for each other. We're only gay for those 2 guys that you have in your house. And Lot's like, well, how about this? I'll make you a deal. I wouldn't want to waste a good rape mob. I know all of you had other things going on that you stopped doing so you could be a part of this rape mob. And I would hate for you to leave empty-handed. So how about this? Bill, Tony, you guys know, you're betrothed to my daughters. Meaning, if they're not married yet back in these times, they're probably like 12, 13, 14. You guys know I have those 2 virgin daughters. How about this? I will let rape mob do whatever they want with my 2 virgin daughters. Just leave the 2 guys that just showed up at my house earlier today. Leave those 2 guys alone. And the mob's like, thankfully, the mob's like, no, we don't want to rape your 2 virgin daughters. We want to rape those 2 guys. And so they start like slowly walking towards Lot with their arms out. Ah! And the door opens. A hand reaches out, pulls Lot into the house. And as they do it, as that happens, the angels make everyone outside suddenly blind. Ah! Ah! I'm blind. The blindness is overriding my gayness. And I can no longer find the door handle of which I was slowly going to. I am blind now. Oh my gosh. And then it's later. And the angels are like, hey, that was a really good thing you did back there, offering your virgin daughters to the rape mob to protect us. We're going to let you in on a little secret. God is going to rain fire and brimstone down from the sky on both Sodom and Gomorrah because everyone's gay. And Lot was like thinking in his head, I'm sure, like, well, they weren't gay until you guys showed up. But okay, whatever. They say you got to get you and your family get the fuck out of here. You and your daughters. You can get the two guys that they're betrothed to. You can get them. You and your wife get the fuck out of here. And Lot's like, oh, but I am an old man. I'm old. I can't go very far. There's a town not too far from here. Is it okay if we go to there? And the angels are like, ah, fuck her. Let me call God and see what he says. So they whip out their God phones and they're like, hey, God, this is Tim. And God's busy eating dinner and he's like, if you've ever done in-home sales, you know this phone call sucks, right? When you have to call the manager, your sales manager, and ask for some sort of stipulation or whatever, it's like a game you have to play. So God answers the phone like, all right, Tim, what do you want? And Tim's like, hey, God, it's good to talk to you. Hey, I'm out here with Lot. Remember how I had to, or I'm out here with Lot. I had to, on the appointment from earlier. And what do you want, Tim? Don't give me any bullshit. No, it's great here. You'd really like him. He's got a beautiful home and these beautiful daughters and, everything's going, what the fuck do you want, Tim? Well, what I was wondering is Lot says that he's grateful that he wants to go, but is there any way he can go to the little town not too far from here? He's really old and he can't travel very far. And God's like, fucking Tim, this better not be any wood, Tim. You better not be writing me any wood. Oh, no, God, everything is really good. You should see this house. It is a very nice house. But, his daughters are beautiful. Tim, I'm telling you, if he doesn't go to that fucking town, you're fired. No, he says he's for sure going to the town. He's really actually excited about everything. He thinks, the whole fire and brimstone thing is a nice touch. And this place could use some cleaning. All these gay guys everywhere. Is it okay if he goes to the town? Tim, if he doesn't go to the fucking town, you're fired, click. All right, God, well, thanks a lot. You have yourself a good night and tell the missus that I said hello. Okay, all right, thanks, God. Hey, guess what, Lot? God never does this, okay? He never does this. But he said, yeah. He said, as long as you go to that town, then it's okay. He'll spare the town. So then it's the next day. Or no. So then Lot goes, okay, I'm gonna go get the two boys, Tony and Jimmy, the two husbands to be. And he goes to the husbands to be. I don't want it. Have a great day. He says, hey, Jimmy, hey, Tony, remember how earlier today you were gay? Out of the blue? And they were like, yeah, that's fucking weird. And he was like, then remember how you went blind? And they're like, yeah, that was even more weird. Like, what's even, we weren't like gay because we didn't start fucking each other, but we were just suddenly gay for those two guys you had in your house. Isn't that weird? And then we were blind, and then it was just later. Remember? Oh, that's weird, right? And Lot's like, yeah, it was, but I can make sense of it. See, God is going to rain fire and brimstone down from the sky because we're all gay. Because you're all gay. And they're like, oh my God, you're so stupid, you crazy old man. God's going to rain fire and brimstone. Really? God's going to rain fire and brimstone because we just suddenly became gay, like God switched the switch, and we weren't gay. We're not gay anymore, and we weren't gay before that, and we suddenly came down with this case of gay, but that's just normal. And then the blindness, obviously that's never happened to me before, but We all just came down with a sudden case of blindness. That's not nothing to do with God, you fucking crazy old man. Get out of here. So Lot's like, okay, I tried to warn you. So then it's the next morning, and the angels are like, you guys got to get the fuck out of here, man. God is about to tear this shit up. Whatever you do, don't look back. Right? If you look back, you're going to get turned into a pillar of salt. So get the hell out of here. So they leave, and I always assume they're just using Godspeed. But they make it to that town. Well, on their way to the town, of course, because women are stupid, the wife, she must have been in front because she looks back and she turns into a pillar of salt. And they're like, holy shit, she's a pillar of salt. Because if she would have been behind them and she turned into a pillar of salt and they looked to see her, then they would have seen it too. They would have turned into pillars of salt. And keep in mind, this is my favorite like bullshit little loophole in the Bible that nobody ever even attempts to answer. All these conversations that are happening. The conversation Lot had with the two guys when they walked up. The conversation Lot had with the fucking the husbands to be. Who wrote that shit down? And then I said, and then they said, good thing they have this diary. I hope one day in 2025 there's a guy doing a video feed and he's talking about this story because of my diary notes here. By the way, if any of this makes total sense to you and I'm crazy, smash the dislike button. Smash it. However, if you think this shit is weird and goofy, hit the like, share it on Facebook, share it somewhere, share it with a friend, and don't forget to sub to the channel. We talk about stuff like this a lot. You guys think the story's over, don't you? It's just getting started. So they get to the town. And again, it's like, I don't know if anybody's in this town or not, but they get to the town. And Lot's like, hey, you know what? My two virgin daughters, the only two people that are left with me, my 12 and 13, 13 and 14, 12 and 14, something like that, year old daughters. I think those angels were lying. Yeah. I think those angels were lying. God's going to destroy this place too. You guys don't know about this, but see that cave way up there at the top of that mountain over there? Yeah, I got it all set up. I got it all set up. There's food there. There's beds and shit. And most importantly, there's a shit ton of alcohol in case anybody has anything naughty planned. Because, the angels were lying. So they Mario jump it. Boink, boink, boink. They jump up to the top of the mountain. And now they're inside the cave. And now again, are there little naked butt cherubs with their wings flying around writing all this down? Because now it's just the two daughters. And they're in the cave that apparently, I guess they have lanterns and shit, torches, who knows. But they're inside the cave, and they're talking, and they're like, hey, sister. Yeah, sister. Our father sure is great, isn't he? Yeah, sister. The way he offered us up to that rape mob to save those two random guys. Not many fathers would do something like that for two random people. He sure is a great man. It's too bad he's stuck with two fucking daughters. Nobody to carry on his legacy like his son. Yeah, well, you know what, sister? Yeah, sister? How about this? How about we get him super, super, super drunk? So drunk that he won't remember it. Because as long as the man doesn't know what's going on, that's okay. It's not as disgusting. If he knew what he was doing, well, that would be disgusting. But if if the girls know, who cares? They're just girls. But if the man knows, it would be a problem. So let's get him so fucking hammered, because, you know, a 90-year-old man who's so hammered he can rape his own daughter, his dick's easily going to work. Like whiskey dick isn't going to affect a 90-year-old man. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Let's get him so drunk he doesn't know it. And we'll take turns, and we'll each get pregnant by him. Oh, sister, that's a great idea. I know, sister. Thank you, sister. All right, sister. You go first, okay? Oldest sister ends up going first. Gets him super drunk. Lays with him that night. The next morning, she says to her sister, sister, yes, sister. Sister, good news. I am pregnant. As a virgin prior to this, who is also a very young teenage girl, I don't need any sort of, you know, I have rocks and shit that I pee. It's the first EPT test is actually some sticks and rocks, but I peed on this literal stick, and it turned blue. So that means I'm pregnant, and I'm pregnant with a boy. Yay. And the sister's like, good job, sister. Okay, sister. Tonight, sister, I'm going to go in and do the same thing. I know you will, sister. Make sure you tickle his balls a little. He likes that. Okay, sister. Thanks for the tip, sister. And the second night, the younger sister, they get him drunk, and the younger sister does this. So this guy has gotten so drunk that he doesn't remember raping his two daughters, his one daughter, or both of his daughters, 2 days in a row. No hangover for this guy. He's good to go. Fuck him. He's not even a part of the story anymore. Next morning, the younger sister's like, sister, yeah, sister, I did it. I got him, and I'm pregnant too. I know it. I'm already pregnant. I can tell. And then it's later, and the both sisters end up giving birth to what end up being great leaders. One is the leader of the Ammonites. The other is the leader of the Moabites. Now, according to the Nation of Islam that we're now circling back to, certain members, like the Nation of Islam was founded by Wallace Fard Muhammad, but it was also incorporated other black nationalist movements that existed at the time. And one of the prevailing thoughts amongst a lot of these black nationalist movements is that black people are the descendants of the Moabites in the Bible. They have tricked the slaves into not only believing in their fucking goofy ass Bible to begin with, but that the slaves are the descendants of the abomination that would be the child of a 90-year-old plus man and his 13-year-old fucking daughter that was conceived while he was so drunk he doesn't remember it. Do you understand how insane all of that is? There's no need for conspiracy theories. There's no need for like any wild reptilian bull. This is what you believe. You might not know it. Like, you might not know the whole narrative as well as I do. But if you say that you're a Christian, you believe in the Bible or any of that bullshit, this is what you believe. You're totally okay with this. And you use this as your, well, clearly God hates gay people. Look what he did. Look what he did. He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because they were, that's what your rationale is. Never mind all of the incest, never mind the child rape, never mind all that shit. God made everyone gay for an afternoon and then killed them for it because that makes sense, right? Right? I mean, right? Specifically gay. I have to still stress that. It's one of these loopholes that apparently they didn't know what gay was back then. Because from what I can tell, here in 2025, you get a whole group of gay men together with an agenda, there's probably going to be a few of them that sneak off and start fucking each other. Especially if it's like a a big mob sort of mentality. Like, it's so fucking goofy. It's so goofy that Christians think this is real, use this as a justification for their bigotry. It's not me. I just follow what the Bible says. I follow the Bible. My favorite is when Christian women are dumb enough to say that to me. Which I'm sure there's a bunch of them in the comments happening right now. I can't see the comments for some totally non-conspiratorial issue reason, nothing. There's no strange reason why my comment section gets shut off all the time, midway through. You guys can still make comments and talk all the shit you want. I just can't address any of it. But you Christian women who push your Sodom and Gomorrah because the Bible says so. I live my life by the Bible. Why are you telling me this, you dumb fucking broad? 1 Timothy 2:12 says, I permit no woman to teach or have authority over a man. She is to keep silent. Why are you fucking talking to me? You're making your God mad. Or is it you don't like that one? Is that one of those cherry picks? Like every good Christian out there who cherry picks the pieces that they like and don't like. What do you think it is? You think it's just what? You gonna follow that philosophy, average everyday woman? That I and every other man is better than you? And that two men in particular, your husband and your father, are on the level of Jesus as far as you're concerned. You shall obey those two men as you would Jesus. Is that how you guys cool with that one? You guys like that part? No? You don't like that part, do you? Nah. It's all such insane bullshit. I can't believe in 2025 that anybody is still a fucking Christian. Especially with everything that's happening right now. Especially with the genocide. Especially with this Epstein pedophile Trump bullshit. Especially with all of the church scandals that have existed and are currently going on, you're just not hearing about them. Do you know how fucking insane that is? The one place that should be absolutely 100% a safe haven, free from any sort of sexual abuse in any kind, but especially with children, is the fucking church. You know, if God's going to interfere in anything, I doubt, for me, I don't understand why God is like, man, I sure want the Titans to win. I'm going to make sure this guy catches the fucking touchdown, the last second touchdown. And then they better get in a little circle in the camera view, all the teams, and pray together. They better do that or I'm going to get really mad at them. Like, is that, you believe that, right? You believe that, but then that same God is like, you see those other kids over there? Those Christian Palestinian children? The bombs getting dropped on them and shit? Yeah, fuck them. Titans won, 20, make sure you catch the spread. Yeah, fuck all those children in the church constantly being raped by the clergy. That's what my point was, actually. I'd forgotten. I'd gone off a little bit. But your God's watching the football games, but your God's not stopping the fucking rape in the church. Of all things, your God's making the American runner run faster than all the other runners in the Olympics. But it's not like, hey, pastor, who's a jigga what? Clergyman, cardinal, who's a jigga who? How about you have a heart attack, and you get a heart attack, and you get a heart attack, and you get a heart attack? God's not going to do any of that? God's going to fucking, sneeze out AIDS all over Africa. Oh, look, now all these babies in Africa got AIDS. Shit. All those germs that God sneezes. AIDS germs. Giving babies AIDS all over Africa. But stopping the fucking rape in the church? No. Why would it get what? No. Church is for rape, right? The whole Catholic ideology and that was created by and for pedophiles. I think it's hilarious. That Catholics, I mean, all you Christians, Protestants, all that other, you guys are Catholics. You just don't like the Catholic moniker, or your arrogance one way or another makes you want to go this way or that. But you're all basically Catholics. The Vatican is the headquarters, this, that, and the other. So at the end of the day, one of the most powerful men in the world is a virgin who never had to, pay bills or anything like that. And yet this person decides policy. This person dictates, marriages and marriage issues. Well, you can't get divorced. Dictates all sorts of policies all over the world. And this is a virgin who can't drive. A virgin who doesn't pay any bills. Why would anyone listen to that motherfucker? That dude has no real life experience, especially when it comes to marital issues and shit. And of course, the only time you ever hear the Pope, the Vatican, speak out against what's happening, speak out against the genocide happening right now in Palestine, is after October 7th and the false flag attack where no Israelis were killed, nor were they taken hostage. And yet it was used to facilitate the genocide that's happening right now. To justify the genocide that's happening right now. The only thing I've ever heard the Pope or the church say about that situation is when they condemned the attack. Like, if it was real, it's not real, but if October 7th was real, they would be completely justified in what they were doing. In finally fighting back against this monstrous fucking machine that has used the narrative that 1,129 people in Israel, not Israelis, people in Israel, so that could be anybody, 1,129 people in Israel died, so that's justification for everything that's happened since. It's okay that Israel has created, 100 times the fucking casualties that they say that they lost on that day. Or is it 1,100 times? I mean, it's like 400,000 people have been killed, so math isn't my strongest suit. I don't feel like figuring it out, sorry. But there's been over 400,000 people that have been killed, mostly children and women, since the men had already all been killed or taken hostage in the years prior to. Do you guys know that prior to October 7th, the Israelis had killed at least 243 civilians? I can never remember if it's 243 or 273. I lean towards 273, but just to be conservative, I'll say 243. 243 civilians by October 7th on record. And that's, so one of the things that Israel always does, because it's Israel who gives us the Palestinian casualty counts, right? Like, Israel controls all of that information. And one of the things they love to do is be like, 273 people were killed, and then in an incident, another 165 people were killed. And then there was another incident where another 200 people were killed. But the record shows 273 when it's really like 500 if you lump it all together, but for some strange reason that doesn't happen. But 2023 was setting up to be the deadliest year for the Palestinians since the 2006 massacres. And it's not just the deadliest, like thousands and thousands of people were taken hostage, kidnapped. Israel would do these illegal nightly raids where they would just show up, kick in the door, start shooting, kill 1 or 2 people, and then take another 5 hostage. And they were doing this every night, 3, 4 in the morning, every single night. Every day you could read about the casualty count from the night before and the mention of roughly how many hostages were taken. 2023 was setting up to be the deadliest year since 2006 for the Palestinians, second only to 2022. That was the deadliest year for the Palestinians since 2006. Second only to 2021, the deadliest year. And they had been slowly building that casualty count up over the previous years. And again, these are just the lowest possible fucking figures that they can give us with the narrative. It's way, way more than that. When you include the people that are kidnapped and never heard from again, well, those don't actually get counted in the casualty count. Because, you know, they're never heard from again. Nobody knows if they're still alive or not. They could be being held hostage for 20 fucking years. Israel's not required to, you know, abide by those sort of humanitarian laws that everyone else is. But to say that the Palestinians, if in fact Hamas somehow orchestrated this unprecedented attack one time, they weren't able to do it anymore. On October 7th, somehow they managed to get around the blockade that had been there for decades. I mean, I always play this one clip for you guys. I'm going to play it again because I get all my information, most of my information from YouTube or from Wikipedia. There's a specific reason for that. One, that's the source that all of you can use. All of you, I don't have to tell you to go look for this and find this secret page and blah, blah, blah. It's all right there. Two, that's the official source. That's like the official source of information, of summary information in some cases, but information. It's the number one source of information in the world and has been since the encyclopedia went fucking obsolete. And if anybody thinks that Wikipedia is just this wild, wild west where anybody can fucking edit Wikipedia, you're insane, you're stupid. That wouldn't make any sense. If anybody could just edit Wikipedia, they could go to it, click edit, click select all, click delete, click save, and just do that over and over again and just wreck Wikipedia if that's what they wanted to do. No, there are editors. There are specific editors. You make an edit, that edit is flagged and sent to the editing team who reviews your edit, and if it follows specific guidelines that are about to be laid out to you, then it's allowed to stay. If it doesn't, it gets removed. Now, what you're about to see is a clip of Naftali Bennett, who is currently a former Israeli prime minister. From 2019 to 2022, Israel had 6 prime ministers. It was Benjamin Netanyahu, who had been the president, the prime minister. They also have a president, Isaac Herzog. But the prime minister is the higher position. Netanyahu initially was the prime minister, then because of the corruption charges and all this other bullshit, like he's under indictment, he supposedly lost the election to a guy called Benny Gantz, who was the defense minister at the time. And then because there was supposedly some sort of tomfoolery with the election, it's then Netanyahu again. And then there's another election where Naftali Bennett, the guy I'm about to show you, who the only thing that he didn't agree on with Netanyahu was he said that Netanyahu, his whole thing, and And as of now, you can see why this worked out the way it did, right? Netanyahu said that every Israeli at 18 years old had to do military service. Now, he's not saying Israelis need to be sent off to war, but he was saying that they had to be recognized as military. And Naftali Bennett didn't believe that. Naftali Bennett believed that we are the ones that should be doing the fighting for them. That's what the Goyim are for. And that they should be able to do their government-sponsored, yeshiva study and travel the world and blah, blah, blah. That's what Naftali Bennett believed. And he ends up winning the election based on that. Now, Netanyahu's, the character of Netanyahu's brilliance, that the pre-planned brilliance has just now come to fruition. Because it was just recently passed that the United States will pay the health care, retirement, all the benefits and everything for any Israeli soldier. But nobody's bringing up the fact that they all serve in the military. So this is one of those weird little loopholes that they managed to do, which means we pay for all of their health care. If they're all soldiers, technically, they've all had military service, and now we pay the retirement, we pay the everything for former Israeli soldiers. Do you not see how that worked out? Do you not see why that was put into place? It now makes a lot more sense. But Naftali Bennett was prime minister from June of 2021 to June of 2022, when he publicly stepped down from the position. Although, from what I can gather, he was still the prime minister. He was like the secret prime minister. He was the behind-the-scenes prime minister.
Oh, our little turtle is between 1 year and 2 years old. That's she was just stunted by malnutrition.
Wow. That's weird. So Naftali Bennett, so he steps down, and Yair Lapid, talking head, who is, who's been a media personality for decades, he now just takes over the mantle of prime minister until November of that year, when you were all distracted by Kanye West. So while you were distracted, they put Netanyahu, Bezalel Smotrich, Itmar Ben-Gvir, Avi Moaz, and the most openly supremacist coalition of Israeli leaders to ever exist into power. And they put him in power in a way that he can't be removed. There won't be any more elections. The only way Netanyahu comes out of power is if he dies or steps down. But this here is a clip from 2010 where Israeli agent Naftali Bennett is speaking to the Israeli National News.com. Okay, and this is what he has to say.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gad Flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
Okay, so that is that is the prime minister telling you that they control Wikipedia. So the reason why I use Wikipedia as my source is because it's the narrative that they want us to know. Those edits that you make, they go through the editing system that was, it was already the number one source of information in the world, but the Israelis had to come teach them how to do their jobs. They didn't really know how to truly edit things so that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. And just in case you're confused, he gives you an example, the Gaza Flotilla, which is where the Ken O'Keefe mythos begins. But the Gaza Flotilla was kind of like Greta Thunberg, where a group of activists got 6 or 7 large yachts, ferries, whatever you want to call them, full of supplies, food, building supplies, medicine, things like that. And they were going to try to break the Israeli blockade of Gaza Strip. So this is in 2010. There's a blockade still. The blockade of the Gaza Strip has been going on for a very long time. And so these boats tried to bring supplies in, and at like 3, 4 in the morning, like Israel always does, they attacked the flotilla. They started boarding the ships. And on one of those ships was Ken O'Keefe, who initiated combat, who started fighting back, according to the narrative. And which ended up leading to one Israeli soldier supposedly being killed and several others injured. We don't know who that soldier is. There's no true record of that. It's just what they say. But on the ship, 9 activists were killed, 6 of which were later found to have been killed execution style. So they were on their knees and somebody put a gun to their head and shot them. And when the trial happened after that, or the hearing maybe that happened after that, regarding the deaths, Israel was, of course, absolved of all responsibility because Israel had the right to defend themselves. They had to defend themselves. These dumb goyim weren't allowing themselves to be boarded and taken over. They were fighting back. And if they fight back, well, Israel has to kill them execution style, right? I mean, that makes sense. That's the Gaza Flotilla. And of course, one of the people they let go turns out to be Ken O'Keefe. They kill all those other people, but they let Ken O'Keefe go. Weird. I think there was only 11 people on that ship. So 9 of them being killed, one of which, one of the 2 survivors is Ken O'Keefe. Boy, that sure is convenient, isn't it? But now fast forward to October 7th, where the narrative, so I did something that I know none of you ever did. I had this hunch one day. It was November 7th, 2023, where I got this hunch. I wonder, let me look up the Israel-Hamas 2023 war, because they call it a war. Even though it's a fucking massacre, they call it a war. Let me look up the Wikipedia page on that and see when it was created. So what you could do at this time, I can't do this anymore, but what you could do then, conveniently, is all you'd have to do is go to whatever the thing was, say it was the Israel-Hamas War 2023 page, click Edit History, and then just click back a bunch of times until you got to the first edit. Now, I don't know if the first edit was the creation of the page or just the first edit to the page after it was been created. But the October 7th, 2023 attack was said to have kicked off at 6:30 a.m. October 7th, 2023, local time. Interestingly, totally interestingly, The Israel-Hamas War 2023 Wikipedia page was first edited at 6:22 a.m. October 7th, 2023 local time. Meaning 8 minutes before this totally surprised, completely unprecedented, unplanned for, unable to actually do anything about it, stepped down for many hours and blah, blah, blah. All the things that facilitated this crazy, unknown. How could anybody have ever even predicted such a thing? 8 minutes before that attack, somebody was already starting to put the narrative out there about what was going to happen for the next few days. And that's what they did. Because I ended up reading the next 3 hours worth of edits. And in that time, they laid out so many different things that hadn't even happened yet. One of the claims that they made was that Hamas launched 5,000 rockets in the first 20 minutes of the attack. So much so intensely, it all happened so fast that there's actually no surveillance footage of it because nobody could hold up their camera fast enough to see it in the most heavily surveilled area in the region. Interestingly, right? 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes. That's 4 rockets per second. Now, the claim is that Hamas commits economic terrorism on Israel by firing rockets, knowing that the rockets will all be shot down by Iron Dome. Well, the Iron Dome rockets cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, whereas the Palestinian magic rockets only cost between $300 and $800 to manufacture. So they're committing economic terrorism by making Israel spend all this money shooting down. Like, it's such a bullshit narrative, but it's the one they give you. So even if you say the lowest end, $300 times 5,000 rockets, that's you add the 2 zeros, 5,000. It's 500,000. It's more than that. I think at $300 it'd be like 500,000. Where did they get $500,000? These are people who can't even afford to rebuild because Israel has such a blockade going on. And at the time, they had actually doubled everything for the previous 6 months. They weren't allowing lumber to get in because to rebuild, they would say, well, that lumber could be used against Israel. They weren't allowing food, medicine, anything to get into the Gaza Strip. And actually, for a few weeks before the October 7th attack, the Israelis were going into the Palestinian territory and pulling out Israelis that they knew were in there for some reason, while not letting any of the Palestinians out. It was well documented. You can find all the stories you need about it. I would assume, I don't know, I haven't looked it up in a while, and you know how shit gets scrubbed. But to suggest that they had $500,000 plus dollars, now again, that's assuming that all of them are the lowest end $300 rockets. That number gets pretty expensive once you start doubling and tripling it, right? Or almost tripling it. And the other part is, how many rocket launchers do you have to have set up to be able to launch 4 rockets per second for 20 minutes? I mean, just think about like a fireworks show. Imagine if you saw a fireworks show where they launched 4 fireworks every second for 20 minutes. Do you know how amazing that would be? Do you know how logistically impossible that would be to coordinate? They would have to have it all set up by computers, and then like so many of them set up in advance that they would be able to reload the ones that were there, or it would either have to all be set up in advance, or there would have to be this tremendous reload effort. How do you fire 5,000 rockets in 20 fucking minutes? How do dirt peasants fire 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes? Just like, how did they get a bunch of paragliders, apparently? And of course, Israel says that they were attacked by paragliders, that they used paragliders to bypass the most advanced fucking defense systems in the region. And when people like me were like, that's fucking stupid, how dare you insult us with this dumbass theory? Don't worry, Hamas was listening, and they had happened to film a training video of themselves using the paragliders, landing the paragliders, that they then uploaded to Hamas.com or wherever the fuck they seem to upload shit. Just to be like, hey, in case anybody wasn't believing Israel, here's our training video. Because that makes sense, doesn't it? That makes sense. Initially, they also claimed that 1,500 people in Israel were killed. Sorry. They initially claimed 1,500 Hamas were killed in Israel. This is within the first half hour on the Wikipedia page. There was this group of like 5 people who were just repeatedly, like one person would add, like one person's job was to add the bits, another person's job was to edit the bits, another person's job was to move the bits around, you know, like they each had their specific job, and you can see, you could follow the pattern with everything that was uploaded. And apparently, I tried to edit it, you had to have like 100 previous edits. You had to then, if you had the previous edits, you would submit to a panel who would decide whether or not your application could be submitted to the next group of people. And if the next group approved you, then you could edit the page. It was a really weird setup. But they claim that 1,500 Hamas were killed almost immediately inside the Israeli borders. And when you heard the story initially, officially they said that there were, implying it was Israeli casualties, they would say it was 1,400 people killed in Israel. They always refer to it as people killed in Israel. Which, if you've been following any of this since prior to October 7th, you know that's not how they refer to themselves. They're the people of Israel. They're the people, you know, they're Israelis. They're, you know, they refer to themselves like that. They don't refer to themselves as people in Israel, because that could be anybody. And that's just how they work that anonymity. Because they're telling you the truth in a sense when they say there were 1,400 people killed in Israel from the attack. Well, if they killed 1,500 Hamas immediately, then yeah, that 1,400 number is technically accurate. It's just not specifically accurate. You see how that works? This is how they operate. This is the magic of what they do. And that number has fluctuated. It went down to like, it was 1,200, around 1,200, and then it was around 1,100, and forever it was like, it was around this number. And now, as of now, it's 1,129 people killed in Israel. Now, again, this requires you to have been following any of this since prior to October 7th, but the one thing I know about the Israelis and the Jays is that their funerals trump everything. Trump investigations, Trump policy, Trump logic. logic is trumped by their funerals. And they have a strict belief that the body has to be buried whole within 72 hours of death. So there should be around, or, at least 1,100 funerals that were held within the first 3 days. Usually within that first day. And you won't find shit. You'll find maybe 5, maybe. Now let me sidetrack a little bit here, right? Fast forward to October 21st, 2023. Here in Detroit, a Jewish community leader, was found stabbed to death by one of her neighbors in her front yard on October 21st, 2023, at around 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. There were no suspects. It was an open investigation, a murder. Obviously, it was a murder. And what TV has told me is that when somebody's been stabbed to death multiple times, like, it takes passion to stab somebody a bunch of times. That's not something that your average, like, robber or, fly-by-night killer, they don't stab somebody multiple times like they have. They're like, that's not how killers work. To stab, to put a knife in somebody, pull it out, put a knife in, that's something that you have to have passion to do. And if you do something like that, every time you pull that knife out, the blood just squirts out, flies all. You get covered in blood by doing that. And so the person that would have done this would have been absolutely covered in blood. Her front door had been open since she came home from a wedding the night before, where she was clearly so drunk that she didn't close her front door. She had some advanced Israeli security system that monitored everything, that monitored movements in the house, that monitored the doors, that monitored, like, it's actually a really kind of strange system that you don't really hear about people talking about. How was the security system armed but the door wasn't closed? Shit like that. Like, these questions don't ever get answered. But initially, it was being presented to us as, we don't know if there's any connection between the Israel-Hamas thing, but a Jewish community leader has been killed, so we don't know. It's probably has to do with Hamas. It probably does, but it probably does. But it might not. And I told my wife right then and there, I said, watch. It's going to come out that it was her boyfriend or her husband, whatever, an estranged lover who also happens to be Jewish, and the story will disappear. Well, story does basically disappear. Time goes by, and it gets announced that someone has been arrested in connection with this thing, this murder. But the identity of the person is strangely withheld from everyone. It's not released. And then comes out, well, that person was released. We don't know anything about it. Well, as the trial comes to exist, turns out that the person that was initially arrested was her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, her Jewish ex-boyfriend, who called the cops one day and said, yeah, I think I killed my ex-girlfriend. I don't remember doing it, but I think I might have. Was arrested, brought in. Turns out he had taken a double dose of his psych medication that he was already on and hit his weed pen 4 times that day. And, for some reason, that made him call the fucking police and confess to killing his girlfriend. But of course, he was given immunity in order for him to be, to stand trial and for some reason be a witness. I mean, the obvious thing is that because he was arrested for it and he confessed to doing it, he's going to get called onto the stand and whatnot. So he was given immunity. Another guy, a black man named Michael Jackson Bolanos, who's not the best person in the world, who had been out committing crimes that night. Now, this is another one of those things where, interestingly, when they want to solve the murder, they can then track this guy's movements all the way from Detroit to Grosse Pointe or wherever the fuck, I don't remember where it was, or to West Bloomfield. It was actually a significant distance. They went through and found all the different security cameras that exist on his route of crime, from security cameras to door cameras to anything they could. They went and found his somehow they found his entire evening. They were somehow able to get all of those cameras together up until the point where he gets to her neighborhood, and then it goes black for a little while. The narrative is that because he was out committing crimes to pay for whatever necessities he needed to pay for, whether it was drugs or whatever. And nothing was stolen from Samantha Wool's house. She was found dead. The narrative is that he actually came across her body at some point, outside on the front lawn. Was like, oh shit, dead white woman, and ran the fuck off. He was then arrested about a mile, 3/4 of a mile from her house. 1 minute after movement was detected in the house at a certain point throughout the night. Now, the narrative does change. The narrative seems to say that she went into the house and she forgot to close the door. It was actually wide open. And she just watched movies for a few hours. And like, the whole narrative is just as bullshit as it can be, which is proved by the trial. Because it was so bad that the black lawyer that he had actually requested that the Jewish judge recuse themselves because they were being so impartial, because they were being so biased. And to suggest that a Jewish community leader doesn't know one of the premier Jewish judges in the system is just insulting. It's just stupid. Of course they knew each other. And this judge was doing just the most insane things, interrupting opening arguments, adding charges. So what usually happens in these kinds of situations is the prosecution figures out which charges they can actually prove with the least resistance possible. And if there's any of the charges have any sort of shadow of a doubt, they just don't charge him with that because they can't necessarily prove it. So they had come up with a couple of charges that they thought they might be able to prove, but it wasn't a very sturdy case to begin with because it just didn't make sense. And the only evidence that they say they had was on this man's black jacket were 2 microscopic little blood specks that couldn't be seen by the human eye and were only detected by the magic Scantron device that were of her blood. Remember, this person was stabbed a bunch of times. Blood would have been everywhere. He only had 2 little microscopic, nothing little dots on him. And so the judge is trying to add hate crime charges and because, you know, every time a Jewish person dies, it's a hate crime. Whether it's a random robbery or anything, they're going to levy every hate crime charge and everything they could. The judge added a whole bunch of charges that the prosecution didn't think they could win anyway. But the judge was like, I got you. And so the trial proceeded. The boyfriend was brought up on trial, or up on the stand, where he was cross-examined by the defense, and he was eviscerated. He looked as guilty as anyone could possibly look. And yet, of course, he had immunity, so it didn't matter. At the end of the day, after everything they tried to do, the only charges they could actually push through, the only charge that they could actually find him guilty on, was lying to police, of which he was given a sentence of 18 months to 25 years. Have you ever heard of something so fucking ridiculous? This man's entire life is in jeopardy. 18 months to 25 years for lying to police? Where the fuck is the justification for that? This is, you know, pedophiles don't get this kind of shit. Murderers don't get that 25 years and shit. That's like first degree murder. Manslaughter is like 15 years or some shit. 18 months to 25 years for lying to police. Basically ensuring that he can be kept away as long as necessary. Hopefully this story just goes away. And as crazy as all that shit sounds, it's not the craziest part. Remember, found dead between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning. Found murdered, stabbed multiple times. Front doors open, nothing stolen from the house. There would have to be a pretty insane investigation, intense investigation into said crime. October 21st. She's found October 21st at between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. on October 21st, 2023. The newspapers from October 22nd, 2023, the morning edition newspapers, they talk about how beautiful her funeral was and that it was attended by over 1,000 people. Now, think about that. That would mean her funeral was held within hours of her death. They don't do funerals at night and shit. So, when was the funeral? Not really too sure what time it was. But we know that the funeral was the day that she died. Have you ever heard of anybody having a funeral the day that they die? Except maybe somebody that's on life support, that they're planning on taking off life support. But even then, there's still a process that has to take place. Even if it's taken off life support, there still has to be, you know, the checks and balances. They have to go get toe tagged and get registered and all that death certificates and all that shit has to be done. But somebody that wasn't a plan, there was no plan. This person was a vibrant young person. I mean, I can't imagine that they even have why would she have a gravestone? Why would she have a grave site picked out? She was in her 20s. She was young. Yet somehow, never mind that it's Detroit, so there were other murders. There are murders every day. So the autopsy, there has to be a waiting list as far as the autopsy goes. Why would she be moved to the front? Whatever autopsies were being worked on, what, they just stopped? And there had to be an autopsy. I mean, this was a murder. This was a stabbing. This isn't something where it's open and shut. You just go, oh, okay. You know, you have to catalog all the wounds and the directions that they came from, and like, this is all standard procedure in the United States. You'd have to contact the funeral home, and the funeral home, you know, they better not have anybody else. You know, what about all the other funerals they have going that day? The hole has to be dug. The gravestone has to be made. This is a community leader who I would more than assume has relatives and whatnot in Israel that would want to attend their funeral. The visa waiver program has already been initiated, so they'd be able to travel here without any visa restrictions. So how do you have a funeral for someone of that prominence within hours of them dying and over 1,000 people attend it? No grandparents that live in Florida or anything like that? Every single person? How do you even contact everybody to let them know? Over 1,000 people to let them know that she died, and then the funeral was going to be held at this time, at this cemetery. You know, arrangements made. You know, think about that. The logistics of it. Just the coordination of the funeral itself, and then the 1,000 people getting there. The over 1,000 people getting there. This all happened within hours of this woman being killed? Well, that don't make no sense. Or does it? Does it make sense to you? If it makes sense to you, then dislike, smash it, smash the dislike. If it don't make no sense to you, hit the like button. Share, sub. Help out. Because to me, this is just the most... like, it's insulting. It's insulting that I'm supposed to believe this narrative. I'm supposed to believe that you had a funeral for someone within hours of them being killed, a prominent community figure, and over 1,000 people attended it. We're talking about within hours, you know, hours. If that makes sense to you, by all means, please explain it to me, because I'm stupid. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. Just like you've never heard of anything like a government agency attacking a funeral, like the Israelis did with Shireen Abu Akleh, after they killed her. This was a prominent Palestinian American. She had American citizenship. She'd been a prominent reporter for over 20 years for Al Jazeera. There was no conflict happening. She had press armor on and a helmet too. She had a vest and a helmet, all said press on it. She was walking when a sniper bullet hit her in the face. She fell down. As she's laying there and people go to try to help her, the Israelis shoot all around her, not letting aid be given to her. Eventually, blah, 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 they end up doing it, whatever. She's bled out now for 10, 15 minutes. She's dead. They finally let people get to her. But the guy that gets to her has to like hop a fence and pull back. And there's still, as he's pulling her, there's bullets bouncing off the pavement around him. Israel initially said it was Hamas that did it. Then they were eventually forced to say, okay, I guess we might have done it. Why don't you give us the bullet so we can examine it, make it disappear. But they said eventually they admitted that it was one of their people, but they weren't going to say who it was. He wasn't going to be in any trouble. He was just doing his job. And supposedly he died a year later in a conflict. He died. So there's nobody to be held responsible. It's already done. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep, Goyim. The day she was killed, instead of us paying attention to the fact that an American press female Christian had been killed by Israel in cold blood, we were distracted by the grocery store shooter, remember? The guy that had the camera on him when he did the shooting and was an obvious military trained, like the way he moved was like a soldier doing an operation. He was accurate to 100%. Every shot he shot would fucking hit somebody almost. He kills 3-4 black people out front, goes inside, leans up against a wall like a soldier, reloads, goes back out, shoots somebody, comes around the corner, sees a white guy, goes, oh, sorry, turns around and goes and shoots some more black people. I really need to do a deep dive into that one because the story behind that one is just fucking nuts. Actually, that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. The grocery store shooting. Because it just don't make no sense. But unlike a Jewish person, this highly revered reporter, this Palestinian American Christian woman, her funeral wasn't the same day. But her brother got kidnapped by the IDF. And he was told that he was to tell his family and everybody that they weren't to have the standard funeral where somebody, especially of that prestige, is martyred, is assassinated like they were. The Palestinians will have the funeral in the church, and then they'll carry the casket to the cemetery to be buried, all while waving flags and singing songs and all that shit. That's a pretty standard protocol for them. Kidnapped by the IDF, told they weren't allowed to do that, and then dropped off. And instead of acquiescing, he goes to the media and tells them what happened. Hey, this is what they did. It was Tuesday that she was killed. Wednesday that this happens. Thursday is the funeral. A few days later, makes sense, right? They end up having the funeral. And as they go to carry the casket, the IDF shows up and attacks the fucking funeral. Billy clubs, batons, smoke bombs, flashbang grenades. They actually beat the people carrying the casket so much that they dropped the casket. It almost fell and hit the ground. I know Shireen would be with me on this. I wish it would have fallen and her body would have fallen out. As disgusting and morbid as that is, that would have brought a ton of international attention to it. But they ended up catching it, and the Israelis corralled everybody and wouldn't let the procession happen. According to Netanyahu and company, the reason they did this is because they would have rather the world seen them attack a funeral than to see the solidarity of the Palestinians waving flags and singing songs while carrying a martyr. Have you ever heard of anyone? Every time I bring this up, people talk about this one story in like Scotland or something like that, or in where these two gangs were rivaling and one of the funerals was attacked. Yeah, okay, whatever, gangs. Even most gangs, though, they have respect for funerals. They don't tend to attack funerals. But to have a military organization, like if it was the Army or the Marines or whatever, show up to a funeral and attack it and attack the people mourning the loss of their loved one, beating people carrying a casket with billy clubs, and that would just be that's unprecedented. And imagine if it was in reverse. Imagine if an Israeli had been killed and militants showed up and attacked the... I mean, you can't even compare it. There is no comparison. It was a military operation to attack a funeral. That's unprecedented. And the fucked up part is her murder was almost used to cover up the funeral situation, because the murder was the thing that people focused on. The reality, the biggest story was the funeral. Including her, there's been well over 200 journalists that have been killed by the Israelis. The Israelis who don't fear anything, they're doing the right thing, yet for some reason they won't let journalists in there to document what's going on. And they've killed over 200 journalists. Journalists are off limits. Press is off limits. You're not allowed to kill the press. This is Geneva Convention, rules of war kind of bullshit. You're not allowed to kill press. And the press has access. They're allowed to, they have rights to access to the information. And yet Israel is completely denying it. And the US is just, Donald Trump, bitch ass, is just like, okay. What Bibi wants, Bibi gets. I can give you so many examples of stories like this. Stories that don't make no sense. Unless you... I mean, they do make sense. Everything makes sense. It just depends on how you look at it. But according to the narrative we're given, these stories don't make no sense. Israel... They're not above lying to us. Literally creating entirely fake narratives to get what they want. Everybody should look up a guy named Hai, H-A-I, Shalain, S-H-A-U-L-I-A-N or L-A-I-N, not really, can't remember, who is said to be the #1 protest guy in Israel regarding masks, vaccinations, green pass, all this. He was the biggest thorn in the side of the Israeli system at the time. One day, he's at a no mask rally, meaning he's surrounded by a bunch of people without masks on, yelling, protesting, right? He's arrested, taken to jail, where 2 days later, he's taken to hospital with super COVID, what turns out to be super COVID. Because seven days later, somehow this man is now given access to a computer or a phone, this prisoner. But he releases a statement saying, I am too sick to talk or respond. So he can't even respond to text messages and said he's so sick. But he believes that with modern medicine and some prayer, he'll have this licked in 2 to 3 weeks. If he dies, it's because he was poisoned. He believes the police poisoned him. He says this on this random post that he's allowed to make. The next day, he dies. The next day at his funeral, of course, on the way to the funeral, they interview his brother. Ask him, do you think anything would be different? Do you think he would have taken the vaccine if he knew this was how it was going to work out? And his brother was like, no, I don't think so. But #1 thorn in the side, #1 protest guy, not his family, not any of the other Israeli protest people that are whatever. Demand an investigation into what the fuck this man said. Demand an investigation into how a man who was not sick was at a no mask rally and died from COVID after fucking 10 days of being arrested. Nobody dies from COVID in 8 to 10 days. Nobody goes from sick to dead in 8 to 10 days, unless you have like a super severe, condition that you're super susceptible. I don't want to say a compromised immune system, because where is your immune system? What is it? Somebody point to your immune system. That's just something you believe in because you have to compensate for the dumbass germ theory that you believe. The intelligent germs who are trying to invade you. Ooh. But nobody asked for an investigation into the fact that he claimed he was poisoned. The fact that, 2 days after the rally, nobody was fucking checking themselves into the hospital from that no mask rally, that ended up having super COVID that killed them 8 days later. Because, the germs are flying. There'd be germs flying everywhere, making everyone sick. Nope, nobody died. Nobody even got sick. Nobody demanded an investigation. And the story just disappeared. Funny thing is, if you're like me, you go, number one thorn in the side of the Israeli institution. I bet there's lots of stories of him, doing other shit, getting in trouble. He should have a tremendous social media presence and all that, right? Nope. Just like the Trump shooter, Matthew Crooks, or Matthew Thomas, whatever his name is. Crooks. This 20-year-old that has no social media footprint. Well, High Shaline was a bit older, but still. No, and he was a famous protest guy. No social media footprint. No stories about him ever existing. I couldn't prove that he existed outside the story they gave us. And the standard composite bald head, square glasses, the shooter profile, the shooter composite picture that they gave us. The lone shooter type. He never existed. They lied to us. It was a total fabrication to assault you. This is a message to all those people out there that Israel can kidnap you. It can come out that you were poisoned by them, and there will be no investigation. You better put your mask on. You better get your shots. You don't want to end up like High Shaline, do you? Shaline. You lying. Shaline. Sure, it's just a coincidence. Anyway, this is fucking way too long. I am so exhausted. I gotta stop doing this. Shit's killing me. I just don't know what else to do. It has to be, this has to be out there. Every single thing I talk about is 100% verifiable. There's no speculation here whatsoever. When I say no Israelis were killed or taken hostage on October 7th, it's because there's no proof. Go try to find the proof and tell me where I'm wrong. Better yet, explain how my comment section got shut off 20 minutes into the video. And if I didn't have so many viewers, I would have restarted it. But Jesus, can't get rid of these kind of views. Where the fuck is it? Make it make sense, man. Show me the other person that talks about their comment section getting cut off on a regular basis. Show them to me. I want to talk to them. I want to see what they do that if they just happen to be on the same wavelength, or are they like, I make car videos and this happens to me too. Doesn't happen to anybody else. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. If I'm allowed to, the link will be in the description. if I'm allowed to edit the description after the feed. Sometimes I have to wait till the video completely uploads before I'm allowed to edit the feed or the description. Sometimes I'm just allowed to. We'll see what happens. If there's no information in the description when you get off with this, but you want the download, go look at a previous video. The same description is in every video, except I just recently added, there's going to be a link to the Bottom of Darkness video or article that every one of you should read, that exposes the ritualistic sexual abuse that is rampant in Israel. Rampant is what they do to their own. Imagine what they do to us if they can do that to their own. That shit is everywhere. North, south, east, west. Doesn't matter the sect. It's a disgusting, horrible epidemic in Israel, and it needs to be exposed. I'll leave you a link to Hollywoodism, the greatest film ever made, which literally explains everything I've talked about today, including the Bottom of Darkness video or article. It explains why you're a Christian. It explains why we have a two-party system and all that shit. It explains why you believe Columbus discovered America and why you believe the earth is round. And all of it is explained in this one video that's not even a conspiracy theory video. It's not an Alex Jones video. It's not a Guy Williams video. It's a video they made between 96 and 98, can't remember, as a flex. Look at the Hollywood that we created. We're not going to tell you how, but we did. We ran it with an iron fist, and we used it to create the America, the world that we wanted to live in. There's a quote from one of the princesses, one of the descendants of the 6 Jewish men who, founded, controlled Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. She says, essentially, you could say, the American dream is the Jewish dream. I highly encourage you to go watch Hollywoodism. At the very least, watch it, and then you can tell me what I'm wrong about. But it literally explains why you believe what you believe, why you think the way you think. Oh, fuck. Oh. I'm also going to leave you with 3 links to 3 of our songs on Facebook, the music videos, Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, Sleight of Hand Job. Watch those videos, like those videos, subscribe to the band page. If I'm not live here, I'm live there. Share that shit with your friends. Music is the most powerful weapon we have, which is why they don't let it be powerful. Which is why we're stuck with fucking Tekashi 6ix9ines and bullshit like that. There's no protest music, and there needs to be. But they know the dangers of that. The Laurel Canyon experiment failed. Look it up, Laurel Canyon. Go ahead. Go check out all the links. Have yourself a wonderful day. And most importantly, most important thing I ever say in these videos, pedophiles, kill yourself.